It's time for Mac Break Weekly. Renee Ritchie is here, Andy Ihnatko, and a visitor from the past. Merlin Mann joins us. There's lots to talk about. Apple has announced new headphones at a breathtaking price. They're going to try to talk me into buying them. I won't tell you whether they succeed or not. You could probably guess. We're going to talk about the worst zero-day exploit I've ever heard of. Fortunately, it has been patched. And then a visit from Bando the bearded lizard. It's all coming up next on Mac Break Weekly. Mac Break Weekly comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. Now, you're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit LastPass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is Twit.
This is Mac Break Weekly, episode 743, recorded Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. So much spirit gum. This episode of Mac Break Weekly is brought to you by Twilio. Strengthen your customer relationships by uniting communications across your entire business. Get everything you need to build and deliver a new customer experience with Twilio. Go to twilio.com to learn more. And by LastPass. Don't wait till the end of the year to get strong security. Start solidifying your cybersecurity strategy with the award-winning LastPass today. Go to LastPass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. And by NetSuite. Get visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more with NetSuite by Oracle. Now's the time to upgrade to the world's #1 cloud business system. Let NetSuite show you how they can benefit your business with a free product tour right now at netsuite.com/twit. It's time for Mac Break Weekly, the show we cover the latest news from Apple. We have been doing this for a while, episode 743 today. But the first episode in some time without Lori Gill, who has gone on to take a job with the fruit company. But Renee Ritchie has refused every entreaty and has stuck with his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. Let's hope you don't look back some days and years from now and say, what a mistake that was. I'm still on that.
I'm not going to Big Fruit Laporte. I'm staying right here with all of us. Common people, the ready people.
I beg of you. Andy Ihnatko.
Big Fruit and everyone else.
He's with the WGBH in Boston, the Boston Public Radio Station. So you should now talk like this all the time.
And next, after the next presentation, we'll be talking to a manufacturer of custom flours and salts. He's just opened his second pop-up in the village. And 1%.
We had an empty seat where Laura used to sit. So we for a while we left just a potted poinsettia there. But I think it'd be better to put a guy who's actually going back to almost the earliest days. Probably the earliest days of Mac Break Weekly, one of our favorite longtime contributors. We've missed him so much. It's so good to get Merlin Mann back on the show. Writer, speaker, broadcaster. Leo. You know why you're on, Merlin?
I don't.
Because of the New Yorker.
Oh, God.
I'm reading the New Yorker, and they're talking about getting things done, which was, of course, kind of a fad. We stopped getting things done around about, I think, March of this year. And and the lead in the New Yorker is, and then there was this guy named Merlin Mann. It's called The Rise and Fall of Getting Things Done, How Personal Productivity Transformed Work and Failed to. And the very first sentence, wait a minute, I got to sign in. I hate it that when that happens. Let me just sign into my New Yorker real quick.
You oughta. Yeah,
you just show my password there. That's okay. No big deal.
And with every
hold on, go back. I'm signing it too.
A 4-month gift subscription to the New Yorker. That's with every matching $500 pledge.
That's how I got it, amazingly enough. The opening sentence of this article on the rise and fall of getting things done. In the early 2000s, Merlin Mann, a web designer and avowed Macintosh enthusiast, was working as a freelance project manager for software companies. And it goes on, and you talk about how you were overwhelmed with all the emails. Email is a ball of uncertainty that represents anxiety, Mann said. And then they talk about 43 folders in your blog. And that's, of course, that was right about the era that we were talking to you on Mac Break Weekly. And then, of course, you abandoned it all, and now you get nothing done.
There's nothing to get done, Leo. Like you say, since March, what are we doing?
What are we doing here?
Yeah,
actually,
hope. It's like they say on Ted Lasso. It's the hope that kills you.
Merlin does 1, 2, 3, at least 4 podcasts due by Friday. Reconcilable Differences, Roderick on the Line, and Back to Work. So you're busy. You're busy.
Yeah. I like podcasts. It's fun. I like making a man eating them. I'm a fan. I like them.
Roderick on the Line. You're up to episode 400, so you've been doing it for a while here. 500 on Back to Work.
Yeah, Back to Work's probably the longest standing, but it's really fun, and I have to say, to state the somewhat obvious, that amidst these challenging times, it's nice to get to visit with your pals a little bit and to get to disappear from the world for a little while and not see all the dreadfulness happening and take a little break.
Honestly,
podcasts and like Spotify playlists are like pretty much all that's keeping me sane at this point.
Yeah, I think this is a world made for podcasts. Really?
Yes, like lonely people who no longer have to leave their house. It's kind of ideal.
I'm going to be very sad.
People are broken inside.
I'm going to be very sad when they cure this COVID thing and we have to go back to the normal way of being. It's just going to ruin it for us.
Well, there'll be another COVID, Leo.
Yeah, well,
there's always another pandemic. Never fear. Oy, oy, oy.
I'd kind of like to be able to see Wonder Woman in theaters. That's all. That's a much bigger screen than I've got at home.
Actually, normally I would start the show with the new Apple products that they announced and all that stuff. But honestly, I think for the 4 of us, probably a hotter topic is what AT&T, the Death Star, is doing to Warner Media.
I thought you were going to say Fitness Plus because we needed it.
That too.
You're going to start with that.
I'll get to Fitness Plus. I will. But I think I feel like it's almost shameful what AT&T has decided to do to HBO Max. Yeah. They announced that they're going to put all of the movies that come out next year. It starts with Wonder Woman this month, but also throughout 2021 will appear first for free for a month on HBO Max while they're in theaters. And theater owners are just crying foul. They're devastated. They've gone through a really tough 9 months, and now it looks like it's going to be a tough couple of years for them. And this seems to be kind of almost predatory by AT&T, which purchased HBO when they bought Warner Media for $100 billion. It was a big.
Is it predatory or just really, really dumb? That's the part I can't.
Well, that's
really
the question,
figure out,
isn't it? Yes.
It looked like it was last minute. Like it was so last minute. Nobody at Warner's knew about it. They found out about it, and they were like, even logistically, this can't work. Like you know nothing about our business if you think that this could work this way. And even as far as it was detrimental to an already hurt theater industry, it was also like, and I'm always one who harps on this. Sorry, it's U.S. only, and nobody knows what that means outside the U.S. because Warner has no HBO Max presence outside the U.S. But there's still movie theaters, and they still have windows and deals, and it really sounds like this. Like for a while, they've been wanting to do this, and they decided, okay, we have an excuse. We can do it in 3 minutes starting now.
Christopher Nolan, the director of many wonderful Batman movies and Inception, says
such a great quote.
He's kind of pissed off. He says,
a little bit.
Let me see. Some of our industries, this is from a quote he gave to the Hollywood Reporter yesterday. Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and found out they were working for the worst streaming service.
The worst telephone company.
Yeah, really. And honestly, this is exactly what you'd expect AT&T to do. They forced out Richard Pepler, who was the head of HBO and really beloved by creatives.
Brilliant guy. He gave us so many amazing shows, and they just they threw him in a burning trash can.
Well, it was to Apple's gain because he's producing now for Apple TV Plus.
And now Apple TV Plus is HBO from 2 years ago.
Right. And then John Stankey, aptly named, became this. He was the guy who engineered this whole thing. He became the CEO of AT&T for his brilliant handling of this. So you think it's possible that maybe in 2 years Stankey will be out? That this was a horrendous move.
damaging though. In the meantime,
well, the
Super
filmmakers
damaging.
the movie theaters point out they're going to lose money. HBO will lose money because, or the Warner will lose money because those movies can't make enough money. You know, you can't get enough subscriptions for HBO Max to make up for the loss of
and
box
their deals are based on the theater. Like all of them have back end. Well, not all of them, but all the big stars and all the big directors. Everybody has deals based on back end of movie gross. Which they will like. Who's gonna? You have Wonder Woman opening in the theater. And
How
you
do
have
they
Wonder Woman
pay?
opening on HBO Max on your TV. How is Gal Gadot getting hers?
Apparently,
this is a big question.
Apparently,
Contractually, I mean,
they're saying HBO Max has to write Gal Gadot a check. That what's going to happen is that they're just going to insist on, look, I'm paying
every Gal Gadot though from every movie
everybody
that they're putting out next year.
Everybody, and so this could actually be a horrific financial decision. The only thing that could make possible sense to me is it's a classic antitrust move where you undercut your competitors, in this case the movie theaters, put them out of business, and then when you control all the distribution, maybe even buy up the theaters. Then you raise the prices and you can make more money back.
And the company that makes Dune, they were selling it to Netflix and they didn't even know that Warner was going to do this. And like, we had Netflix offering us tens of millions of dollars for the Dune rights, and you're now putting it on HBO Plus. Where's our lawyer?
For free.
And apparently, like, there's huge legal fights right now.
Yeah,
yeah, and there's a lot of precedent for this too. The cast of MASH wound up suing Fox for a huge amount of money by saying that the syndication rights to MASH were incredibly valuable, but they were undermining the value of it by using it as leverage to package other properties that into syndication that they couldn't sell quite so well, and therefore is cutting into like the actors and the producers' shares of the profits. And this could also be a big matzo ball for the fact that AT&T made all of these arguments for 4 years in front of lots of courts about when they were about to acquire and merge into Warner Brothers, saying here are activities that we promise we are not going to be able to do. We're not going to try to leverage our new dominance by owning this catalog, these studios. And of course, the first thing they did, as soon as the first sign I got that they were absolutely 100% not even kidding about keeping up with all this, was when I got an email saying, "Congratulations, as an AT&T digital subscriber, you're going to get HBO Max for free starting on day one." Say, isn't that like you're giving me this free package that you wouldn't be able? You're not going to be able to give me other free packages that you don't own. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, the ability to simply say we're going to throw these hundreds of millions of dollars worth of produced entertainment onto this channel that we already own. There's going to be now that we're going to have a new administration, and the argument about the wisdom of this merger is no longer being complicated by a president who is like, well, you won't see
Trump fought this. Trump fought it for 2 years, but he fought it because he didn't like CNN.
Exactly, he fought it out of spite,
right.
And when all these denials went into appeal, higher courts struck it down. Obviously,
that's who threw it out was the courts.
Right,
the courts said, "Go ahead, merge." Yep. I believe everything you're saying. John Stankey was seen at the airport talking into his wallet, saying, "This is the this is the guy." It's a little nod to our friend Merlin. Yeah. Our feeling is there's a win-win-win type of solution. It's exactly the kind of thing you'd be saying, Merlin, into your wallet. There's a win for us. There's a win for our customers. There's a win for our partners. Anytime you're going to change a model, it creates a degree of noise. And this is certainly no exception. This is the CEO of AT&T.
But you guys saw this, right? Like you saw this with Bell and Rogers in Canada, where they were allowed to own all the different production companies. And now it's because the CRTC, our version of the FCC, does not help consumers at all. It helps the industry. And I get CBS All Access, and there's no Star Trek on it because they resold it to Crave, which is owned by Bell, and they have their own. And you have to sign in with it. It's a complete and utter mess, and it's sad that the same thing is now propagating to the U.S.
Yeah,
I try. This might sound really naive, but as I get older, I'm trying really hard to stop assuming that I'm the only smart one and everybody else is the dumb one.
No, it's true.
With that said, sometimes it's just really difficult when you look at an industry, a company that creates products that you love, and things like music, movies. Those are things that are very meaningful to me. A phrase that I find myself thinking sometimes is, "You don't love this as much as I do," and it shows. Like sometimes I can tell sometimes with a hardware device, a software device, the way that this thing is marketed. We have different roles, and that's what that's what makes America great, is that your job is to run the studio and my job is to go see the movies. But with that said, it does feel like the long-term consequences of this are going to affect a lot of people, not just big theater chains, but the people who work at the theater chains. I mean, people who review movies for a living. There's this, I mean, it sounds silly and inconsequential, but it's something we've learned in the last 6 or 8 months is that we can see a little bit in front of us of what is happening, but it's extremely difficult to see 2 or 3 steps ahead because of all this uncertainty. And it just seems like sort of like I think it was David Sims at The Atlantic said this. It just feels like they're burning money. And even if I try to be kind-hearted about it, I don't understand, what is the strategy? What is this in service of?
See, I'm assuming it's typical antitrust, but you're assuming, as Robert Heinlein said, never attribute to malice that which can be attributed to incompetence. You're saying they're just dumb.
I love Apple, but I don't think they use some of their stuff as much as I do. I think the people who make it don't. The remote for my Apple TV, which John Siracusa refers to as a diving board. It's like you have to get the right pivot on the diving board to do the thing. And I don't mean to bag here, but like there are times where I think like you don't deal with as many photos as I do, and like I'm not even like a photo guy, but like or whatever that is, you don't. Whatever that is, there are products that come along where clearly somebody's really thought it through. But I don't know. I don't want to bag on the poor executives, all those rich, powerful men making these decisions. But I hope movies are still going to be. It's difficult because in the taxonomy, I'll shut up in a second. The taxonomy of this is difficult because when we talk about movies, really, there are people who look at things like that as what has come to be called content, which is the thing that we shovel at the people with money. And then there are people who look at it as there's the theater going experience. There's all these different things. It's just you have to disassemble those pieces and look at what each one means on its own. I don't think it's as simple as saying, well, let's just throw a bunch of movies at HBO Max and people will get it. Was there a hit? Was there a legitimate Apple TV hit? Like legitimate,
no.
Before, I want to say Ted Lasso. I mean, I know some did well, some were well liked.
Was Ted Lasso
but I feel like
hit?
Ted Lasso.
Was that a hit?
Yeah, it's been approved for 3 seasons. Yeah.
Really?
They don't even tell the producers any numbers, as Jason Sudeikis has mentioned. But I mean, so just slapping an Apple label on something is not going to make people buy it. And I really think slapping the Death Star on something is not going to make people buy it. And it's hard to understand. They're really diluting a lot of one of the strongest brands in media, and that's. I don't understand why they're doing all of these things.
I don't understand any of it.
To me.
They're applying the Quibi mindset to Inception, and you saw how well that went.
Low blow.
No, but it isn't a low blow. It's exactly what's happening. This is Quibi all over again, right? This is.
I always feel like every time another piece of information about that company came out, I would always think of a board meeting being attended by. Like, let's hear the report on Quibi from George Costanza. And George would be like, no more than 10 minutes. You can't take a screen grab. And they go, well, like, what if it's really good in 11 minutes? Nope, got to be 10 minutes. No screen grabs. Can you watch it on your TV? Nope, not for TV, just for your phone. It's a smart joke and a smart crowd would get it. I think George is getting angry.
George is getting angry. Okay, you could say Ted Lasso's a hit. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was the greatest show on TV, not even close. But just because Apple's renewing it for 3 seasons doesn't mean it's a hit. They're kind of, they need content, right? They also proved the morning show is that for another season. Is that a great show? I don't know. You really liked it, obviously, Merlin. It made you feel good.
I did not watch the morning show. It didn't appeal to me. But
Lasso,
I don't. But like it's sometimes when you run into a company, I realize we're a little off topic here, rat hole. But sometimes you encounter something and you're like, what is this the answer to? Like, I assume that there was somebody smart enough to say that there's a question that needs to be answered. There's a demand that needs to be filled. And in the case of Apple TV Plus, by the way, Apple TV Plus, just so you know, you watch it in the Apple TV app on your Apple TV is where you get your Apple TV Plus, just so you know, just to be clear, in terms of brand identity stuff. Apple. But like, I don't feel like, so, but then you go into the
Apple picked Disney Plus as the best Apple TV app of the year. Even Apple couldn't say.
It had Baby Yoda.
It should be us, but
they're just bending the knee. Promise me.
What is that? Alf and an egg? What is that?
Hey, watch it,
hey.
fella. Keep it
He will
friendly.
force choke you so fast before.
We brought back the theme, everybody.
Rise
What's that little ball?
It's the Merlin Man theme.
Are you playing me off?
Yeah. Get the hook.
And you got the hook.
No, we love it. We love it. I don't mind. This is a show full of rat holes. It hasn't been as rat holey since you left, so we're glad to bring the holes back.
I have tried to pick up the slack. I mean, it's
It's true. It's true. Andy is good at the long digression, but nobody's better than Merlin at the rat hole. We should have a jingle for you, Andy. Come to think of it. We'll work on that. That was Paul Minshall, by the way, who used to do a lot of fun stuff for us back in the day. How long has it been, Merlin?
Excuse me?
How long has
Since
it been
what?
since you were on? I mean,
I came in.
you did a few visits, but you were. I mean, it's been 10 years, right?
I don't know. I mean, I was around probably 2006, maybe, in the first 10 or 20 episodes. I think Scott had just acquired a second yacht to store his extra wax on. And the wax, Alex picks them up, a couple crates, $700 a can.
Still considered the golden era of Mac Break Weekly.
Scott Bourne.
It's been a while. Well, I'm eternally grateful that you
we love you
put
guy.
me out there.
We love you. It's so nice to have you back.
You're asking me to leave now, aren't you?
No. I'm serious. Don't ever leave. Stay. By the way, here is just, I think the chat room is giving me the actual physical award that they get, which, wow, it's not.
Being on Mac Break?
It's not that.
Oh,
no,
for
this is the App Store award. It looks like a Mac Mini, or maybe, you know what, this could be a prototype aluminum case for next generation Apple TV.
It should be a Mac Mini. They should get a functional Mac Mini that's just coated blue.
Yeah.
overstock.
Yeah.
Something with a DVD slot on it.
It's aluminum. It's thick. It doesn't look too heavy. It's probably hollow. Like
I think I'm having a
lives.
neurological episode. What are we looking at? What's happening?
This is the App Store award that Apple TV gave.
I see.
They gave to Disney. Yeah, and the iPhone app of the year is Wake Out, and this is the guy who created Wake Out.
It really looks like
it
an
took
Apple
Evans
TV.
Hankey to carve that out of a solid block of aluminum in the design lab, in the ID lab, just with herself and a chisel.
It's a squircle. That's how you know it's a
Yeah, it is. It's a
design.
squircle, isn't it?
I thought it was a super lips. I got yelled at saying it is not technically a super lips. It is technically a squircle. You can tell because the radii is different. I just wanted to fall down.
Oh my God. Let's take a break. There are new Apple products, and I really should start the show with those, but I'm so angry about what's going on with AT&T. You started, let's see, I have 6 pages of you on Mac Break Weekly, actually. Look at this.
Wow, look at that.
Going back, look at all of these. You can actually do a search by name. So your first Mac Break, you first appeared on Net at Night, February 21st, 2006 with Amber.
Wow, yes,
Yep.
that was really cool
Yep.
with Amber. I remember that.
And then shortly thereafter, in July of the same year, you started showing up on Mac Break pretty consistently, I think.
And then we did those videos in the studio.
Oh, that's what these are. Those are the videos. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you tamed my hair. You made my hair lay
I
down.
think that was Alex. You were on the 3rd episode of Mac Break Weekly. The 3rd episode.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
August 2006.
Is that the one where somebody made a backpack out of an SE?
Yeah, probably that's how long ago it was. Oh my God! Now
It's all coming back to me.
It's all coming back like the hot kiss at the end of a wet
Yeah, like a
fist.
flashback, like an acid flashback.
Yeah, and I think the last Mac Breakley was 2010. So you had a 4-year run, episode 221. Then you've appeared a couple times since then. Episode 221 from 20. So it's been 10 years. Welcome back. We missed
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Our show today brought to you by Twilio. You don't have to talk into your wallet. If you want to communicate with your customers where they are, Twilio makes it easy. Whether it's text messaging, emails, phone calls to videos, all in one single powerful platform. And Twilio is big. They operate at scale. 3 billion phone numbers available across more than 100 countries. They power more than 795 billion interactions. every year with 5 nines of uptime, 99.999% uptime. Let me give you some examples of people who use Twilio. Shopify uses Twilio Flex to run their global contact center with more than 1 million customers. Flex is Twilio's programmable contact center solution. Blue Apron uses Twilio's SendGrid to send out their newsletters. You get the newsletters, right, from Blue Apron? And when you log into Netflix, I hope you're using two-factor. If you are, you're using Twilio. In fact, I use Twilio's Authy as my two-factor app all the time, everywhere I go. Ever order food or a ride from Lyft or Uber? You know that text message, your driver's on the way? Twilio. Twilio. Product and operations teams use Twilio to create new ways to communicate with their users in their applications, inside your applications, ranging from account notifications with text messaging. Yes, they do chat bots, securing online accounts with two-factor. Twilio Flex for customer service teams. Here's the deal. It's built by developers for developers, which means you don't have to be a specialized telecom network engineer to have access to all the superpowers the network will offer you. You just need to know how to build web apps. A few lines of code, and you can build an app that text, call, chat, and video conference. Everybody knows the best way to do this is Twilio. Strengthen your customer relationships by uniting communications across your whole business. Twilio, go to twilio.com, TWILIO.com to learn more today. Twilio, it's time to build. It's time to build. All right, so this morning, press releases from Apple. I had heard there was a tweet, a rumor that there'd be a new Apple TV today. I guess it could still happen, Renee, right? It could. No.
So this is driving me crazy. What happened was after John Prosser became popular, a bunch of different Twitter accounts popped up.
Yes.
Called like Leaks Apple, all these different things. They have no track record, no credibility.
They're just making stuff up.
They're totally anonymous. They are thirst traps, and yet a bunch of websites that I like, that I respect, that I appreciate, started blogging them. I'm guessing because they're under immense pressure in 2020
they need
to get
news.
as many views as they can.
Yeah.
And then YouTubers pick them up. And then I look and they're on like the Linus Tech Tip show. And no, you've got like this person has no track record. Please stop doing this.
So no new Apple TV, but the
next
long rumored AirPods Max came out. But before I tell you all the features, let me cut to the bottom line, $549.
Whoa.
That seems a lot.
That's the cheapest you can get on
That's
there.
a lot of money.
That's a
Whoa.
yes, Merlin. That's a lot of money. It seems expensive.
Wow.
How much are the Bose Quiet Comforts? Because that's what they're going up against, right?
They're all they're all like 300, 350. The Sonys.
The Sonys.
There are headphones that are more expensive than this. You can spend a ludicrous amount of money on audio.
Oh.
You can buy $1 million setups and they'll offer to sell you accessories.
I'll be the last person to criticize
people,
expensive headphones. I have a pair of very expensive Hi-Fi Man headphones that are great because instead of buying a very, very fancy stereo, if you get really, really good headphones and a good input, you can get great sound. And so these Hi-Fi Men, which are magnetic planar technology, sound great. But that's not what these are.
Most people don't know those. Like the biggest issue for me with this is most people have no idea that those headphones exist. For most people, the high end are like the Sonys and the Bose. And for Apple, Apple they look at as an affordable luxury brand. And then when Apple only introduces the high end, like if they only introduce the Mac Pro and there's no Mac Mini, or they only have an iPhone XS and it's not the iPhone 11, you feel like that compact has been broken and they're only giving you the luxury and you want them and you can't afford them and you get really angry really fast.
Scooter X says, no, come on, guys. It's simple. Buy a Mac Pro and a Pro Display XDR on your Apple Card and the cash back, you could buy the headphones. Free.
I mean, they're computationally, like they have a bunch of technology inside them that is expensive, but people aren't used to paying for the accelerometer and the gyroscope and the 8 different microphones and there's 2 H1 Apple Silicon 10-core audio processors. Nobody who buys headphones is used to paying for that.
Each cup has its own 10-core processor.
Its own 10-core system in package, like an Apple Watch.
That's the problem that Apple's up against. Nobody is. I think the HomePod really proved that nobody is impressed with all the stuff you put into the press release. All they care about is maybe you put $1,000 worth of incredible technology into this. If it only sounds $8 more expensive than something that costs half as much, you lose. And I think that most people are going to regard this as a set of headphones for and I mean this in a positive way, as for audio muggles, people who are just like, I want headphones that sound good. I want them to have really good noise canceling. I want them to sound really, really great. But once you get into the rarefied air of $550, yes, there are headphones that cost that much and more, but these are for the audiophiles, and I'm not sure if the audiophiles are going to think that these headphones are in their class. Well, it remains to be seen. But I just
so that's the question: is do these sound $550 good?
Yeah.
If they did, I don't care about the technology. They've got to sound.
Or do they have that much brand cachet? Like, will people buy them just to wear them?
Well, look at these. I mean,
not just
these come in 5. Go ahead, show John. Yeah, 5 gorgeous colors. They do look a little like an Altoids tin. They're a little more rounded.
So get this, Leo. The cups were made to exactly match the iPad Air, and the bands were made to match exactly the iPhone 12, so that they would be, regardless of which one you had, they would match both of them.
And the stem was made to match your Apple Watch. In fact, that could be an Apple Watch on the side right there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now they're wired and wireless, which at least they are. You could plug them in, which I think
wired, sold separately.
What? You don't even get a
you
jack.
Got a Lightning to USB-C cord, but if you want the Lightning to 3.5 cord, I think it's like $35.
Oh, that's just insulting.
No charger.
Someone said $10 for every millimeter.
That's just insulting.
Yeah.
Because if you're on no one who cares about audio fidelity is going to listen wirelessly. It's a convenience, not a. Doesn't even aptX. They don't even do aptX in the iPhone yet? I don't even think they do.
They do their own thing.
They do their own thing. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that I think counteracts that a little bit is that I think if there are people who regard it not just as this is the Apple thing, this is I'm an Apple fan, I like Apple style. There are people that will think of it as not just as a good $300 pair of headphones, but as maybe a $250 fashion accessory on top of it. Because I think the industrial design really bears that out.
Look, they actually stitched the L and the R into the fabric of the cup. Now,
there was a rumor that a bunch of features got cut, and one of them was that it would be able to automatically detect which of your ears it was on, and so it wouldn't matter. Yeah. But it sounds like that was one of the features that got cut. So this stenciling is what we get.
Quick! Can you weave an L or an R into the cup? Yeah. Quick!
It's 2020. Everyone has learned to weave, Leo. They learned sourdough and they learned weaving.
You've got Brooklyn artisanal weavers making the cups.
I think one of the challenges for Apple that is that you discover over time, if you're a little bit of a power user, that there's a lot that's sort of non-obvious things that these devices do, where it isn't really it is apples and oranges in a lot of ways. I think the HomePod is a good example of that. Like I've got an old regular HomePod Prime. And I got one down here, and it does sound amazing. And when you hook it up to the TV, getting all the
which you
the
could finally
stuff,
do,
right, which you cannot do with the Mini. But I mean, like, so for example, stuff like I may be non-obvious to somebody who's just ordering off of Amazon or whatever. Right. That like, okay, you're going to get that ability to get like Atmos, quote unquote, through this speaker, which is
spatial
amazing.
sound.
But like, again, the integration with other Apple products. So it's also maybe non-obvious that this is now can also be your HomeKit hub. Right. So the value proposition, what a dumb phrase. The thing that they need to sell to people in some ways and communicate is not just that this thing sounds good, but it works with all your other stuff. And to some extent, some stuff works better with their stuff than other stuff. And that could be a source of frustration because now you're like, okay, is my old phone charger going to work with this new phone? And that sounds silly to us, but that drives a lot of people.
This will work with your Apple stuff
on principle. Like you said, with not including the cord, there are people in some part of the spectrum who are like very upset about that stuff just on principle. Other people are not, and they'll drop the $500 because it's going to work well with Siri because they're all in on Siri. But what Apple's selling you in some ways like selling, not always succeeding at this kind of integrated lifestyle, like your iCloud. Right. Everything should work together, but like I think that's very difficult to communicate to a garden variety consumer. you could just say, well, these are good headphones and they're loud. Go buy them. But like, if you don't know about, let alone then utilize all the things that it can do with the other things. I love my Sony WHXM, whatever the hell they are, but like they're stupid as hell. They're so dumb. You can only be like synced to one thing at a time. To resync it, you got to turn it all the way off. Long press. Anybody have these? The the nice Sony ones.
Yeah.
They sound great once they work, but getting them to work is just really not fun.
Bluetooth is a nightmare. I don't like wireless headphones for that reason.
You can also do the wire, but I just think that's a big challenge. I imagine for Apple is like working across business units with people to try and figure out how we sell this to people as part of this bigger thing we want you to do.
It's even more complicated because they own Beats, so you have to make something distinguished from the Beats products, right?
Right.
But you're not, and you want to charge $550, but you're not really. I don't know if you're really. These headphones have features every audiophile looks for. For instance, as you're listening to music, it will read you incoming text messages. What more could you want? I don't think they're selling this. I think you're exactly right, Merlin. They're selling this to a technology first person who wants
high
it
affinity Apple brand technology person.
Who wants it's like when you're in World of Warcraft and you get the enchanted armor with the enchanted helmet and the enchanted sword. You want the whole kit. And so, I mean, sure, I bet you there are Apple people who have all of the above. I know. I see it on Reddit. My entire
Twitter feed this morning was filled with pre-order pictures.
Yeah.
They were just one after the other.
I see it on Reddit.
The rumor is there's supposed to be a lower. The rumor is there's supposed to be a lower end version of these too. Like if you think about the Apple Watch without the Sport Aluminum version, it's just ridiculously priced. Right. When you think about the HomePod now compared to the HomePod Mini, Apple has been fairly good at having that. Like the iPhone 12 versus the Max. The iPhone 11 was way better, received than the $1,000 phones, but they didn't ship the sport version at the same time. And I think that's also what bothers people, because if they saw this, said, yeah, there's a fancy metallic looking one with nice finishes and all this, and that's, $550 and good for you. I'm buying the $250 one and I'm happy.
Do you think people now still buy AirPods with the AirPods Pro in the market? Like, do people look at the AirPods and go, yeah, for $100 more, I'll get the Pro version?
I think for kids. I bet for kids.
Okay. Yeah.
But the other part of this is I hope this is the stupidest thing that I say today, but another way to look at this is headphones now, in a pandemic where people aren't really going places. Yeah, you need headphones for think outside of our circle.
Actually, you want them because your roommates are saying, turn the music down. You're living with other people.
I wonder if they feel like they can do that price point because the kind of people who are going to buy costly headphones when they don't have anywhere to go much might be the people more likely to pay a little bit more.
You wouldn't wear these on the train.
Sense.
You wouldn't wear these on the bus.
I just think about losing stuff. I mean, getting out of a lift in one of my AirPods back in the day, picking my kid up from school.
Oh, it's awful.
And it just perfectly bounced off my chest down. And here's me. No. As the car is driving away, it was perfectly placed for the wheel to go right over it. And I don't know, man. I'm forever trying to find stuff I've lost. I wouldn't want to lose 500.
How many AirPods have you bought? How many AirPods have you bought? No, I think I bought like 4. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's testimony to the fact because Apple sells them onesie-twosie. You can buy
I really like
just
them
one.
A lot. I like them so much. I really do.
You're wearing the AirPods Pro right now. These are, you know what? These are beautiful. I think these actually look really nice. I bet they're very comfortable.
It's kind of like a medical appliance.
Like maybe
it looks like something like when your doctor walks in with that, you're like, oh no,
God,
please, no.
It's that time of year again.
Ill for this, please.
The technology
and the procedure will begin shortly.
Like that cup. If that cup is made of memory foam, so it tries to seal around your ear to make an acoustic seal, so it can do the computational audio. But if like me, you're wearing glasses and it can't seal, some of the low end is escaping. It's got a microphone inside to detect what you're hearing.
Oh my
And then
God.
it will adjust to compensate for any audio leakage that's happening because of glasses or something else that you're wearing. So they're doing, I think they said some ridiculous amount of millions of calculations per second.
That's why you need a 10-core processor in each ear cup.
Yeah. Well, the other AirPods have the same processor, but they're only using 2 of the cores, so it scales differently.
Do the microphones do anything super special?
Yeah, so they have a bunch of microphones, and normally they'll just react, but they have one microphone that's listening for basic noise cancellation, and then they've added an extra microphone that's listening just for wind, because they found that wind was something that, this goes back to the AirPods Pro, wind was a particular annoyance for people, so they added an extra microphone just to detect and cancel out wind sound.
Wind bothers my wife a lot, especially at night.
Yeah.
She doesn't like that. So this is for who? This could be a game on the show. Trick Leo into buying these. This is
trick. We just gotta wait. We just gotta wait a few minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, the most basic thing, Leo, you need it for your work.
No. My work is broke.
Try it. It works,
My work
works
is
really
broke.
well.
I can't.
Yeah.
In fact, the reason I can't buy this is because we don't have any money. So that's not going to work. So
If you're the Alpha Secret Santa and you drew Leo's name.
Oh, there you go.
No
Maybe
pressure.
I should tell Lisa this is what I want for Christmas.
So who's it for? Is that the question?
Who's it for? Is should I get excited about a unique dual neodymium ring magnet motor?
Ooh.
Sounds good.
That's rare earth. That's a rare earth.
It's rare earth.
Yeah.
It's rare earth. You don't know how many barefoot children in Botswana were involved in the manufacture of this. It could have been, that's expensive stuff. Actually, did Apple say now that they're getting their rare earths in ecologically sustainable ways?
I think they're working on reusing all the rare earth stuff. I don't know how far they've gotten, but repurposing, I think is the term.
Does it say if it does the spatial thing?
Yes,
I
it does spatial.
It does.
It's spatial.
I think that is magic. I mean, there's not much stuff you can use it for right now. But
if I were watching Lord of the Rings on the TV and it would give me Atmos in my head.
It's different. It's different.
Well,
so the TV is static. It doesn't move. And the AirPods are different because, so with the TV, you're sitting in front of the TV, and regardless of how you move, you expect it to come from the TV. But with
you find yourself
iPhone,
doing this a lot to test it out, and do this. But the crazy part is, so I turned it, I got it. I finally got the firmware update. I was so excited to try this. And something's cool when you go, it's not working, honestly. Because at first you go like, oh, it's not working. Which means it's so subtle, but you do this and you're like, that's a witch. There's a witch in my iPad. What's happening? But it sounds so freaking cool. And it doesn't feel like a trick. Like with those kinds of things, it's sort of like, like when 3D movies came out and you could get a TV. They mentioned this on the Blank Check podcast recently. Used to be there was like a 3D button where it'd simulate 3D on a non-3D film. And you're like, oh, that's not really the thing. That ain't it, Chief. But we put these things in and you're watching a movie, like it sounds amazing. And I mean subtle in the best possible way. You've tried it? Everybody's tried it here?
I have not because I don't. I have AirPods Pro,
the
but
big difference
somewhere
is
I can't find them.
Because like if you've got the sensors in the AirPods and you've got them in the device, and so the gyroscopes and accelerometers communicate with each other. And if you're moving the iPad, like let's say you're watching like this and then you lean back, your expectation now is that the audio, or you're just moving it sideways, the audio should still come from the person speaking. The center channel should still be the relative, not absolute center channel then. So as you move it around, it is adjusting where the audio is coming from so that it still feels like it's coming from the device you're holding, which just doesn't have to happen on a television set because that's a big static object. And it really messes with your brain at first. And then once your brain locks onto it, that's your new expectation and everything else sounds broken.
I went into my fancy 4K movies that I had on an iOS device, and I think I was doing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and it was pretty trippy the first time.
So it's like surround. It gives you surround sound, but they're in your headphones or AirPods.
Relative spatial audio. Yeah, so relative Atmos basically.
Relative to what?
Relative to where you're holding the device and turning your head. So if your head turns, the device stays spatially where it is.
Well, who cares about that?
Yeah, that was
because it really sounds like it's in the room with you. It really sounds.
But
like
it is in the room with you. Wait a minute.
It's like to my preference is one of the reasons why I put headphones on is so that it doesn't matter like where my head is and where I'm turning relative to the actual device itself. I'll always get like beautiful like standard like balanced separation. So it's a wonderful piece of technological magic. But in terms of placing the audio as though it has the illusion of originating from the device it's playing from, that's not something that I really value.
You know what stays in place when you move your head around? TV speakers.
Vinyl. I thought you were going to say vinyl.
Yeah, vinyl. I mean, so I thought it was going to simulate a surround system with the left right behind me and up above me. And Oh, it does do that.
Yep.
In
that part.
addition to that,
it's hard to describe its depth. It really, the words you're using remind me of like, oh, it's quadraphonic. It sounds like it's all around you.
Exactly.
And that's true to an extent, but it's just more like it sounds whatever the room sound, when you imagine the room you're watching on TV, that's like what it sounds like. And it doesn't feel gimmicky to me. I mean, obviously everybody's got their own preferences, but I think it's amazing and I can't wait. That alongside like being able to add a second pair of iPods, like when my kid and I are watching, the kind of media that my wife would just assume we not be watching.
Right.
It's going to be really cool to get to put those in and watch that.
I was thinking. I could pair these to my Apple TV, right? And I could have two sets. Yeah. So my wife and I could both be wearing headphones while we're watching TV, which is something.
But no spatial audio on Apple TV yet, but I think that's.
Really? You only get spatial audio?
No, it's only on iOS devices. Atmos. That's the frustrating.
It does the Atmos, but not. So this is where people get confused. It does the Atmos, but it doesn't do the relativistic thing because the TV never moves. So if you just move around, you don't expect where the source of the audio to be moving. But if you're watching on your iPad and you move it, it still wants to come from the same position for you.
You're not convincing me yet, boys.
And it's that easy to explain to consumers.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even know that.
You know how you wish your TV moved? Yeah. Check it out, $500. How many you want? Be honest. You want 3?
You're not.
Plus, you lose Plus, you'll be happy to know we're not ruining the environment by giving you a free cable or free charger. You're welcome. This
is extremely, extremely rare earth. We recommend that you get one for your desk, one for your house, one for each of your your yachts, including the wax yacht, because you're going to want to have those separately. They'll charge separately. We have a separate charger for that, and then we have a charge adapter that will generate the feeling of power in a room. That's $35 for the dongle adapter.
I just want to point out, I could get 10 neodymium magnets for $15 on Amazon. So you got to
be careful. Be careful. Those
do magnets, not swallow those.
I love.
I know. Do not swallow.
They will put. I have one here that is terrifying.
Maybe you can explain this to me. Why does this come with 10 screws? Here's the magnet. Show the. It comes with screws. What's that for? To screw them into something? Oh, I see. You screw them into the wall? I thought there was some sort of magnetic trick. Okay, Merlin's got his magnets.
Okay. This one, usually I just keep it in the styrofoam.
How old are your kids?
My daughter's 13.
Okay. She's not going to swallow these. Ooh, look at the size of that. God. That is massive.
If you've ever played with one of these, you get an idea. Because like the little tiny ones, the size of like a little dot we use on the refrigerator.
Right.
But like you get 2 of these and you're going to get pinched. Let's find something non-dead.
Whack those things. You could just to your mic stand. Put it on your mic stand. Isn't that metal?
It might disrupt the audio waves.
Look at that. Wait a minute. You can't get it off.
Well, I stick it to so basically you could do like this. Yeah. Oh, that's aluminum, I guess.
Oh, it's aluminum. Oh man.
Not a great demo, but they're very fun magnets. They hold up very well.
He's got it attached to his mic.
You could do this. Yeah. You know what? Buy 5. That's handy. Yep. You have it's magnet and it's magnet storage all in one.
What prompted you to buy?
I'm out.
That's like a 1 pound neodymium magnet. What prompted you to buy that?
I'm a scientist of rare earth. I like to have these things around, and sometimes, maybe you're trying to pick up some stuff in the rug or whatever. You never do that. You ever just get a flight of something from Amazon? Like, ooh, I want these in all the different sizes. I do that.
You did see this story. This actually kicked off the pandemic for me. Astrophysicist gets magnets stuck up nose while inventing coronavirus device. He wanted to build a necklace that would warn you when you touch your face. So it would sound an alarm on when you touched your face. When the mishap occurred on Thursday night, this is from the Guardian, the 27-year-old astrophysicist who studies pulsars, just like you, a scientist, Merlin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Said he was trying to liven up the boredom of self-isolation with the 4 powerful neodymium magnets. I have some electronic equipment, but really no experience or expertise in building. So I got to finish the story now, Merlin. Wait, hold on a sec. I had a part that detects magnetic fields. I thought if I built a circuit that could detect the magnetic field and we wore magnets on our wrists, then it could set off an alarm if you brought it too close to your face. That's good thinking, right? However, he realized the electronic part he had did the opposite and would only complete a circuit when there was no magnet president. So he says, I accidentally invented a necklace that buzzes continuously unless you move your hand close to your face.
This is like the opposite of a smoke alarm. Like it just buzzes all the time, and then when it stops, you know you're in trouble.
After scrapping that idea,
create a necklace to remind you not to put magnets in your nose.
Is this?
Well, wait a minute.
Is he related to the CEO of AT&T?
Well, yes. After scrapping that idea, I was still a bit bored playing with the magnets. It's the same logic as clipping pegs to your ears. I clipped them to my earlobes. And then I clipped it to my nostril, and things went downhill pretty quickly when I clipped
the same logic?
The magnet to my other nostril. He placed 2 magnets inside his nostril and 2 on the outside. When he removed the magnets from the outside of his nose, 2 inside went stuck together. And then he attempted to use the remaining magnets to remove them. At this point, my partner who works at a hospital was laughing at me. I was trying to pull them out, but there's a ridge at the bottom of my nose you can't get past. After struggling for 20 minutes, I decided to Google the problem. Found an article about an 11-year-old boy who had the same problem. The solution was put more magnets in your nose.
Oh, jeez.
To put on the outside to offset the pull from the ones inside. As I was pulling downward to try and remove the magnets, they clipped onto each other. I lost my grip, and those 2 magnets ended up in my left nostril while the other one was in my right. At this point, and honestly, this is probably the only bright side of this. At this point, I ran out of magnets. Before attending the hospital, here comes the ambulance now. Reardon attempted to use pliers to pull them out, but they became magnetized. The pliers became magnetized by the magnet inside his nose. Every time I brought the pliers close to my nose, my entire nose would shift toward the pliers, and the pliers
coming
would
from inside the nose.
It was a little bit painful at this point.
Eventually, he showed up to the emergency room with about 18 pounds of stuff, including a refrigerator door on his nose.
Exactly. So there's a scientist playing with magnets. Just a word of warning.
Well, you know, if you're going to get into the magnet science racket, you know, my concern is that sounds like it might be a cover story for some kind of a sex thing. Maybe he's like a magnet guy.
There was a little thing.
North, south, north, south, north, south. Yes.
Fortunately, I ran out of magnets. I'm stunned by the size of that magnet you have, Merlin. I mean, that is.
Oh, you're sweet. You're sweet to say so. You know
your magnet is so
say we
big.
all.
I've never seen such a big magnet with a human.
Can I say that's one of the baby ones I've seen, like
they're bigger?
8-inch wide ones and thick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't
Real
get
horse
those
magnets.
So adaptive EQ. So the sound, that's what you were talking about, Renee, with the sound adjusts to the seal.
Yes.
By measuring the sound signal that you're getting and adjusting the low and mid frequencies in real time. This is for computer geeks. It's not for audiophiles.
Well, no, because there's no real EQ. Because in order to do all the computational stuff, you can't be doing. They can't deal with you moving knobs and levers around on
that
your
would
own.
be bad.
So there's no manual EQ anymore.
Right.
It's just only, which a lot of audiophiles hate. That's the very idea.
Right.
They want to control their music.
Active noise cancellation. The AirPods Pros are not super good at noise cancellation, are they? Or are they? I don't know. You tell me.
I think so.
You think
For
so?
in-ear, I think they're on par, yeah.
Have you ever worn them on an airplane?
Yes.
And they cut the background noise?
Pre-cataclysm.
Yeah, pre-cataclysm.
Yeah, I mean, you still hear like the rumble of the engine and the roar, but you don't hear.
It's not as bad.
It takes like the rough edges off of it, and it does a transparency mode. So if you do need to hear somebody talking to you, you can just press the button and it does that.
Each ear
It's one of those things where like you don't notice, you notice it a little bit when you turn it on, but you really notice when you turn it off. You're like, wow, this plane is really loud. Yeah.
Right. So that's nice. Transparency mode with AirPods Max. That's the name of these things. Users can switch to transparency mode. Oh, that lets the sound. It uses the microphones to let the ambient sound in while you're listening.
That's what
to
I'm
music.
doing right now, so I can hear myself without needing a monitor.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good for that. Not so good for music. But I guess if you're running or you're wearing them, outside. And then the spatial audio we talked about, which supports 5171 and Dolby Atmos.
Yeah.
Okay. It has that easy pairing. And I'm with you, Merlin, like with the Sonys or anything else, Bluetooth is a nightmare. So it's not.
And Sony always wants to like launch their app and do all this stuff. And I'm like, they're just gobbling up your data. I mean, I'm listening to Fountains of Wayne. Have fun selling that.
Yeah, really.
But like, it's so creepy. Like to just turn. I just want to use the headphones.
I don't need
and then
you.
it's like, oh, do you want to go in here?
I don't need
It'll
you.
understand when you're laying down or walking. And it's like, I don't care. Just stop changing
Jabra
things.
does that too with all of their things. It's really annoying. Although I have found with the AirPods, one of the reasons I stopped using them is, and these are going to do that too. They like to switch around. So they say you can
They're
be
a bit
watching
promiscuous.
TV. They're promiscuous. You watch a TV, your phone rings. You can suddenly it will switch to the phone. You can have that conversation, and it'll switch back to the TV. If that all worked really well, I'd be great. But sometimes it does it anyway.
And the wording on it I find very confusing. Like, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I've read and reread the instructions on that so many times on the iPhone, and I'm still not sure which one I want.
Right.
Like, do I want the one where it always defaults to this device? But yeah, it can be very upsetting sometimes. It's like when I forget that I've linked up all the home pods and I think I'm just playing something for me. And
The whole house.
the whole house.
The whole house is hearing Stacy's mom at full blast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice pull. Yeah.
This is the dopiest thing. The smart case. So this is a case that does not, in fact, hold the headphones. It just wraps gently around the cups so that and then there's a magnet probably in it, so that they can go into an ultra low power state. They're claiming 20 hours of battery life. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'm used to headphone cases for the whole headphones. I guess this
Or to protect them, right?
Right.
A third-party opportunity, I think they're calling this.
Yeah. Well, I have a few.
Well,
What do you want for
they'll last a month
$550?
or two in this, which is weird, but
So this is essentially a bra for your AirPods cups.
I thought butts, but I guess it's going to depend.
They grow up so fast.
Okay.
So you're not sold, Leo. You're not gonna sign on the line.
I think I probably should.
Is that what I'm getting?
Because here's the question, and I think anybody before they buy this, I wish you could go to an Apple store and listen before you buy it to really make sure that it's going to give you the audio quality you deserve if you're spending $550 on a pair of headphones. Or do you not buy this for audio quality?
I mean, like for the AirPods Pro, they would let you try them, but they would like clean them, and I think they would change the tips. And you can magnetically remove the cups on these and change them, and they'll replace them for like $70 if you damage them or something. But are they going to have an Apple store with a bag of cups that just every time somebody comes in, they put a fresh pair of cups on the headphones so they can try them?
People aren't going to be able to try them until after COVID.
Leo, I'm going to guess that if you're not into stuff like spatial audio, these probably aren't for you. Because I would imagine that's a kind of a marquee feature. And Brazier aside, like I think probably these are not for you. Because I could see why it's a very editorial decision whether you'd like that or not. But I don't think these are for you. I think you should get some. Now
I'm going to buy them. It worked. That worked. Very strategic. He went for the don't buy them, Leo.
I'm a magnet scientist and a reverse psychologist.
They aren't for you, Leo. Don't buy them. What's wrong with...
It's more of a Shelbyville idea.
Oh, man. It's the monorail. I bought it. Okay.
North Haverbrook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're really... It's not for you.
Don't you tell me what's for me.
Yeah,
You're not the boss of me.
The hell with that.
You're not my internet parent.
You're fired.
What? Well, it's got free engraving.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's mine.
That's how you know it's.
Does it come with a chin strap so
emoji?
that like it'll make it a little bit harder for people in the subway just yank it off your head and run out the door with it?
Yoink.
Well, I don't think I'll be going on a subway anytime soon, so that's probably all right. I like the
Pedaling
red.
the subway is close.
We have
Pedaling the
to
subway.
have faith. We have to believe in a future.
They wouldn't let us build a monorail here, unfortunately.
Monorail.
Yeah.
Monorail.
Monorail.
There are a lot of questions here. Like, for instance, like how much is it going to cost to replace the battery, and will they replace the battery on this? It's
a service, they will.
Yeah.
So tell me again, it doesn't come with a wire at all, or it just doesn't come with the adapter?
It comes with a Lightning to USB-C.
But that doesn't go into the headphone. That just charges.
No. Yes.
So if you want to listen wired, you have to buy an extra $30 dongle.
Yeah, $35 for 30.5 millimeters.
Yeah, a lightning to as a stereo mail jack.
Yeah,
Is it, so is it standard? Yeah. So if I had a male to male thing that I could plug into the Lightning adapter that I got years ago when I could do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't
actually
sound
really good audio in those tiny, that original thing that they sold with the iPhone 7, 8. I forget which ones they were, but they sold it for like 2 years. Those were really, really good. They had a really good converter in them to go from digital to analog audio.
So it's going to ship in 12 to 14 weeks.
Now it was much faster this morning.
They sold out already.
Yeah.
So forget buying it for the holidays. 12 to 14 weeks is like, that's
Depends on the color too. I think blue went fastest.
Oh, maybe because I'm buying the pink one. I'm not buying it. I'm just, I'm looking.
Rose gold.
I'm just to prove that it's worthy of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
Add this to the bag.
I'm waiting on Micah's review of the pinks.
Yeah, Micah wants the green, actually. He likes green.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, he's all over. He was very happy to see the green.
I can't wait to hit the hi-fi forums to have someone methodically produce all kinds of like charts and spectrograms to prove which color has the greatest like air around the mid-range,
which acoustical properties.
Yeah,
of the color.
get the gold cable. Yeah.
No, I imagine they'll be as angry as the PC Master Race forum was after M1 was announced.
I got so much hate for saying I liked the M1. I was kind of stunned. Oh, wait a minute. I can only buy, I tried to buy them all the colors, but only 2 can be purchased per customer.
Yeah.
Just because
they do a much better job at stopping scammers than Sony or Nvidia or Microsoft.
So the sky blue is March 5th. The silver is December 31st. You can have it for the new year. The green is March 5th. The space gray, the ugly colors you can get by the end of the year. Wow, they sold out right away. Just shows you.
Depends how many they made too.
Yeah, well, they may have had 5. We don't know, but given that these have been rumored and we even knew what they was going to look like 6 months ago, I have a feeling they've been able to produce them, right? Or did you think it was?
The rumor is that they had to change stuff at the last minute, and we're not quite sure what that was. But they had features, and that happens. Like the difference now is people report on it, but commonly you lose features on your way to the 1.0, and then they show up in the 2.0.
Is it some of it FCC approval? Is that some of the, what happens or no?
I think there was a rumor that they had a gesture area and they switched that for the digital crown, and that they were supposed to be didn't matter which way you put them on, they were supposed to automatically detect that, and that didn't work. So you had to have us all hand stitch our own L and R into the cups.
Yeah.
And they don't have to get FCC approval for the entire device, just for the component that produces the RF. So it's possible it's using something that they've already gotten FCC approval for.
That is not the only new thing Apple talked about today. No Apple TV, no AirTags. Is AirTags just dead in the water?
And Samsung is going to ship theirs now. Like Samsung heard them announce this, had the time to build their own version of it, and now they're going to ship it before Apple shipped the AirTags that were finished last year.
Yeah. Well, they are going to
also copying the no AC adapter in the box thing. Just please stop. I need someone to take a stand. This cannot be allowed to be normalized.
Apple Fitness Plus will launch in 1 week, December 14th. They kind of had to. They said this year, so that's pretty much as close to the end of the year as you're going to get. Monday, you'll be able to start working out with your Apple Watch and your Apple TV. You could do high-intensity interval training, HIIT, strength, yoga, dance, core, cycling, treadmill, rowing, and mindful cool down. And I think the delay was probably they were recording all of these, right? We knew that this was going to have to happen.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this. I bought the Apple One package when they offered it, so I'll have this. I set up a rower in front of the TV just to see. I've mentioned before, I have the Peloton, so I like the idea of having a screen with a trainer running you through an exercise on a cycle. And I wanted to do something with a rower. We have a treadmill too.
And there's going to be crossovers. So like the different trainers will burst into each other's sets. It'll be like the Avengers, Leo, or a Mighty Marvel team up.
Oh, please. I hope not.
Hey, Bob, come try this rowing machine.
This is a well-timed product because of COVID. Gyms are closed. People can't work out. So these, all of these products are going through the roof. Mirror and all of those. So
I see that Mirror ad a lot.
Yeah.
A lot on cable news.
Yeah.
And now that's owned by Lululemon. Is that right?
That's part of the reason I see it. Because it starts with a young lady in Lululemon.
Oh, I see.
Pants.
Yeah. That's cable. Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to turn away. I'm just saying. Here's the good looking. Yes, Berlin?
Oh, no. I was just going to say I don't know. I mean, I guess I should pay more attention to the actual ad, but it seems a little silly.
It does.
It seems, I always think of when the wonderful episode of The Office, the dinner party, maybe the best episode of The Office.
Absolutely.
U.S.
Without doubt.
When they go out to the garage, and remember he's trying to like get them to invest in Jan's Candle Company, and he has this entire pile of old workout equipment, Thigh Masters, Soloflex, Bowflex. I see something like that mirror, and it's like, well, I guess we can still use it as a mirror. That's cool. We don't need to subscribe to our mirror anymore. So
it's a little mirror on the wall, and those ads imply that they can see you, which I don't think they can. I think they're pre-recorded. But the ads imply...
I like your hair like that.
Yeah, I know. They say, you're not working hard
enough. You look like a baby when you sleep.
I don't think that's what I'd want in my house, is a two-way TV. It's a little 1984. Here's the good-looking bunch of trainers, all just so happy to be coming into your house via TV, Apple TV Fitness Plus. Do you have to have an Apple TV? I guess you do.
Apple TV, iPad, or iPhone.
You could put it on of course you could put an iPad or iPhone. Okay, that makes sense.
But you need an Apple Watch. You have to have an Apple Watch.
It's really a watch product. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If I look suddenly buff and fit, you'll know why.
Oh, we all are, Leo. We're going to come back into the new year looking exactly like those models. Sorry,
I don't think the lady with the pants comes with the mirror, Leo. Just FYI. You're going to have to get buff on your own.
There's a saying... I can't remember it, and even if I could, I probably shouldn't say it, about Lululemon and how they're designed to make your bottom look good. And judging by that ad, they work.
It sounds like it was named by Tom Brokaw.
Lululemon.
It's a proud Canadian company.
Lululemon. We gotta jump Tom Brokaw today. Who makes that mirror, Tom?
Lululemon.
A new innovation from a company based in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Should not make fun of the poor man.
Our new musical spokesman, Michael Bublé.
There's lingering doubts about the Lululemon future as regards the fitness kits. Lululemon.
All right, let's talk about oblivious DNS when we come back. Hey, it's so nice to have you back, Merlin. Really missed you. Really appreciate it. Merlin's doing a lot of other people's podcasts. Actually, they're all yours, aren't they? That's the point.
I'm just happy to have a warm place to use the toilet.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll show up anywhere. Really, yeah. It's kind of
well.
Sad.
We anytime you want to be on the panel, we love having you, and we've got an empty seat just waiting for you. Andy Anako also here, WGBH Boston, and from Renee Ritchie. I gotta come up with something better than that.
Why don't you say from Mrs. Ritchie?
Yeah, okay.
From Mr. and Mrs. Ritchie.
Okay.
My mom is watching, Andy. I just like it also when the Merlin cinematic podcast universe and the Jason Snell cinematic podcast universe inevitably cross over.
It's good.
It's like those once in a lifetime Marvel DC crossovers.
It's good.
Oh yes, exactly. Yeah, we like a battle world thing. Yeah, I love that guy.
X-Men. It's amazing.
We could get Snell on with you. It's easy. That we can do.
That's like 30 podcasts in one room, though.
I know.
It's like 30 podcasts.
I like to think of myself as the cilantro of podcasts. Like
you taste like soap.
Even if you like it a lot, and most people don't, you still just really want to use a little, just a little bit,
just a little bit, a little bit of Merlin. Everything's better with a little bit of Merlin. Our show today brought to you by LastPass. Boy, we have been really grateful to LastPass all year long. They bought studio naming rights, something I think unheard of in the podcast space until LastPass came along. I've been using LastPass for 12 years since they were invented, I guess, since Joe Segrist wrote it. I think it's been 12 years. It was a couple of years later that I convinced Steve Gibson to take a look at it. I said, Steve, this is the best password manager I've ever used. It's now been 10 years since he did his Security Now episode talking about how LastPass works. We started using it as a company about 6 years ago. Man, with all the employees going home, I'm so glad we did. Because if you've got employees working at home, security becomes really important. I mean, it's always important. Cyber attacks are a huge problem. Data loss, data breaches, ransomware. A good solid cybersecurity strategy is so important, especially if you've got employees outside the office logging in to your most valuable resources. I might add your bank account, your website, your databases, your customer records, all of that stuff. If you're in IT, you love LastPass because it means you can take back control of password security. You've got a central dashboard that keeps you up on what's going on. In fact, you can even see for every employee password scores. So you can know if their master password is up to snuff. We actually impose, there are 100 different enterprise policies. We require all of our employees to use two-factor. That's big. But we also have minimum password requirements, of course. You can see what accounts are being shared, what passwords are being shared. You can monitor group memberships. You have admin privileges. There's real granularity in the privileges. So the people who run one department can be administrators for that department, but doesn't give them access to the rest of the organization's information. And if you have to revoke access, you could see security scores. They even do dark web monitoring to see real-time readouts of your business's password hygiene and alert employees when credentials are at risk. It's what we call a zero-knowledge security model. It assumes that everybody has to authenticate, whether they're inside the network or out. And it protects us all, from the smallest, business like ours to the biggest organization, and of course, every individual and families. We use LastPass Family at home. You no longer need to use passwords. In some cases, 1,200 plus single sign-on apps make it easy. LastPass supports more advanced techniques beyond two-factor. They call it multi-factor, where they're using contextual information to authenticate as well as the password and the two-factor, things like IP address and geolocation. Of course, they use the strongest encryption. Everything's encrypted everywhere except on devices, only decrypted on your computer or your mobile device, wherever you're using LastPass, always encrypted before it exits, and your master password is never sent anywhere. That's the beauty of LastPass. Don't wait till the end of the year to get strong security for your business. I know this is a budget decision, but it's not expensive, and it really pays off. Start solidifying your cybersecurity strategy with the award-winning LastPass today. LastPass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. Thank you, LastPass, for supporting Twit all through a difficult year, 2020. We really appreciate it. LastPass.com/twit. Oblivious DNS. We had DNS. It's kind of funny. We had DNS over HTTPS, but no, that wasn't enough. Now we need oblivious DNS. This is something Apple's doing with Cloudflare. They've developed a new internet protocol that will make it far more difficult for internet service providers to know what sites you visit. So DNS over HTTPS encrypted the DNS queries, and usually when you're using DOH with Safari or Firefox, I don't know if Chrome, I think Chrome does it too. I use it on Firefox. You would choose a provider, so it would be encrypted all the way to that provider, Cloudflare, or in my case, NextDNS, where the DNS lookup would be done, completely hiding what you're doing from your internet service provider. But the DNS resolver you're using, whether it's Cloudflare or NextDNS, does get that information, and that's why this ODOH, or oblivious DNS, wraps encryption around the DNS query, passes it through a proxy server. The proxy server gets the website, passes it along to you. So the proxy can't see it, and the DNS resolver cannot see you, just the proxy. So my only concern is it's going to add some overhead to it.
The performance.
Yeah, but I don't know if it does or not. I've been using DOH for a long time, and it works just fine. So ODOH is a new thing to look for. You can use it with Cloudflare's Quad 1.1.1.1. But again, it'll have to be put into browsers. It's presumed, because Apple's involved in this work, that Apple will put it in Safari. I have to say, using Safari on an M1 Mac is orders of magnitude different and better. I loaded normally twit.tv here. I'll show you. I'll load it right here without having a cache. We have a lot of content on this site. Well, it's still pretty fast. Gosh, you guys have done a good job. But on Apple, it's like this page was already loaded. Yeah. And I just opened a tab to show it to you. It's got
a JavaScript accelerator built into the Silicon IP, which is the same one that's been on the iPhone for a while, which is why you see people like DHH, get uncranky for a hot minute and say how amazing the performance is.
It really, and what's making me sad is now in my office at home, I have a very, very pricey iMac Pro with 10 cores and 64 gigs of RAM, and it's
throw it in the trash. Hot fire trash.
It's
Intel.
slow.
Burn it.
It's
slow for those tasks, Leo. It's still really good for some other tasks.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, if I were rendering a lot of video or something, I guess it would be faster.
Anything Adobe will still work way better.
Oh, it's Adobe. Actually, though, I guess Lightroom now is out for M1, right? Or is it a beta?
Not Premiere, though. I saw Sarah Dietschy's video yesterday, and she's like, it's taking an hour to render Premiere on this M1 Mac, and it takes 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes in Final Cut.
It's just so. Last time we talked last week, I was complaining because some of my development tools were not yet ready for prime time. In fact, they wouldn't even run under Rosetta. I'm happy to say that they have rapidly improved and a lot of that comes down to the people responsible for them getting a Mac, an M1 Mac. Yeah. So, example, Matthew Flatt is a professor of computer science at Utah, and one of the team that does the language I use, Racket, got an M1 Mac, and within 3 days, Racket's running on an M1. It's running so fast. Again, I don't want to ever go back to my iMac.
It's a confluence of nerdery. It's the nerds who maintain those things want the M1 Max, so they are motivated to make their stuff work really well.
We're doing a fundraiser right now for one of the maintainers of the Lisp I like, Steel Bank Common Lisp, SBCL. Somebody asked him on Reddit, so when are you making it work with a Mac? Because it doesn't work at all. It doesn't run. And he said, no, I'm not, because I don't have an M1. So they put together a fundraiser, and they're raising money for him to get an M1 because we want that to work. But what's encouraging to me is it does seem like, well, someone like Matthew's a brilliant programmer, but Matthew was able to take what is a huge package, there's a lot to Racket, and make it work within just a few days. That was encouraging to me. And it's not a Big Sur issue because it does run fine on Big Sur. It's an M1 issue.
Yeah.
Merlin, have you noticed that some of the things that you use don't work, but then they do very quickly, or what's your experience?
I'm on this very old iMac, and on the 2015, I think, which feels very old by modern standards. It doesn't even have USB-C. But I'm on the horns of a dilemma because on the one hand, people say, you don't know if the M1, I would feel really stupid if I bought a Mac Pro. Or excuse me, an iMac Pro.
No, don't buy anything now. No Intel. No.
Yeah,
I can
there's
promise
a lot of stuff
you.
I'd like to do. Yeah.
I know. that is really tough. If you have
I'd like to get a Focusrite, but a ton of the value you get out of a Focusrite comes from the USB-C connection.
Right.
So I would be leaving a lot. Anyway, it's not critical. This thing works. I got to say, for a 2015 Mac, it still works great. But I'm very envious hearing people like Marco talk about. I think even the MacBook Air, as people were saying, are just like crazy fast, right?
And it's $1,000 or $700 for the
He
mini.
compiles Overcast before writing the new code. It's like it's done. It's almost like tachyons at this point.
It is. It's pretty. Here's the thing. We already now Bloomberg. I guess Mark Gurman with the rumors that we're going to see by spring, we're going to see 32 core M1s. On MacBook Pros and perhaps on an iMac. I think this
128 on a Mac Pro, Leo. What kind of a ludicrous number is that?
And that's what's interesting. As you have said, Renee, these are the slowest M1, ARM Macs we'll ever see. And they're already like, what's happening? Just a different just like a different era of computing. And I can only imagine what it's going to be like next year. So yeah, I would say
some people have said like it's all 5 nanometer, like it's like a huge once in a lifetime lift from 5 nanometer. But
I don't think
Apple
so.
ran great on 7 nanometer.
Yeah.
Hisense does not run this well on 5 nanometer.
Yeah.
This is a really good architecture they've spent since the A7 developing, and they can scale it out over multiple cores, which is great. But also every new IP generation. So when there's an A15, there'll be an M2 architecture. When there's an A16, and you can fund a lot of R&D off the back of the iPhone because they're doing chipsets every year for that baby, and it's the same IP that goes into the Mac chip. And I think this is what's exciting because Intel was so far behind on roadmap and having so many problems, and now that the Mac will literally get lifted every time there's a new iPhone, it just at scale, which is super exciting.
There are a lot of PC people say, oh, it's just what they call marketecture. It's it's marketing especially that 5 nanometer thing is marketing as opposed to actual improvements. But I don't think so. It doesn't feel that way. It's pretty. It really looks like there's a lot of headroom and there's a lot of places for Apple to go with this. Andy, did you decide to pull the trigger?
Yeah, I did. As a matter of fact, my M1 MacBook Pro is arriving on a week from today. So it's possible that I'm going to be I'll be in the middle of saying something and then leap from my desk to sign for something.
Yeah. I was actually standing at the door all that day waiting for the UPS guy.
So MacBook Pro, just for the sake of argument, if you had a screen for it and stuff, a MacBook Pro is a computer you could use instead of an iMac, right?
It is. It would be faster than your 5-year-old iMac for sure.
It's just hard to find a good screen. There's very few good screens out there. I think the LG one is still the only one that's the same quality as the iMac. It's the same panel.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And that's going to cost you, right? That's a couple of grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's $1,000.
You can use
like
that
the
old
LG
iMac. I think that's old enough that you can use target display mode. Can you not? Do you know what TDM is?
I don't know.
Pre 5K?
Yeah.
So
I'm very in love with my Synology, and that's my main technology fetish right now. So I should just redirect my energy into the Synology, stay focused on that.
I upgraded my Synology last year, and I got I took the old one to work, so now I have my Synologies with hyper backup syncing. So I have the one at home and I have the one at work. It's really nice. I don't worry about my data. Wait till you see
this DSM-7. It's real pretty.
Ooh. You just got
I would not do it on a production, machine. But I ill-advisedly, the first Synology I bought very quickly was a 2-bay Synology, which is a stupid idea.
No,
defeats the entire purpose of the thing.
You need 5 at
least. You need
5.
4 you can get away with. 6 would be great.
Yeah.
Because then you can get the smaller. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to put like 10 terabyte drives but then get 5, you get total 10 terabytes, you get 10 terabytes out of it. That's not great. Anyway, but yeah,
So you're using now this is in beta, right? The DSM-7.
It just came out today. So anyway, the point being that old Synology that's just been gathering dust is what I put it on. And it definitely looks a lot better. Yeah. Yeah, it's real cool. You know what though? I gotta tell you, man, I'm glad to see anytime. I think this is sort of a CGP Grey-ish idea. Is like you get excited when you see Apple doing something cool, but you get really excited when you see Apple doing something cool over and over and seeing progression, and that's how you develop this trust. I think it's one reason we have such a crazy rumor mill. Is people are always trying to understand and speculate, like in some cases, the practical component of what should I buy, in my case, right? And then there's just the fun kind of gambling aspect of what's the future going to look like. And to state the obvious, I think it's really encouraging to see them do anything to, as Syracuse says, put some wood behind the arrow with Max. And anytime that it's not just this is an item in our lineup, I think that's really encouraging. And to hear them, this is something that probably would have made Steve proud, a computer that goes this fast. I think that's really cool.
I'm with you. I was very worried about the Mac, as people who watch the show know, over the last few years. I really thought, we're just going to be an iOS world. So it's very nice to see these chips. And yeah, they came from iOS, but they really do a great job on desktop. And it's the more I use it, the more I use things that are written for it, particularly, the more appreciative I am of how much speed there is under the hood. And to their credit, they didn't raise prices. You could still get a MacBook Air for $999.
They were never meant to be mobile chips. Like I think that was it's almost a parallel to when Ed Colligan said, we've been making, BlackBerry and Palm been making smartphones for years. We built them up from pagers and PDAs, and these computer guys aren't going to walk in and take over. And it turned out that bringing OS 10 down to mobile was a really smart move. And this is the opposite of that, because you have people saying, Intel and NVIDIA and AMD have been making big honking desktop chips, and these mobile people aren't going to walk in and take over. But Apple was never building mobile chips. They were using desktop class architecture and performance and efficiency, because it was all the PA semi and all the AMD and NVIDIA and Intel, people that they brought into Apple. That's what they knew how to build. They just had to build them for 5 watts. And now they're allowed to build them for 10 to 15 watts and soon for 30 to 35 watts. And it turns out they know how to do that really well.
Yeah, these are going to scale. It looks like, anyway, these are going to scale like crazy. And that's going to be very interesting.
I feel like I need the Federighi light when I talk about this stuff. I feel about M1 the way Craig feels about Instant On that MacBook.
It is Instant On, but I mean, it's not like it was slow to start
No, those
begin
red
with.
lights. You know that music and the red lights, Leo. That's what I feel like I need when I talk about it.
I don't want to be too much of a fanboy on this one, but it's exciting, and I like desktop computing, so I want to see it. I want to see it go. And the good news
that's
is
something that something Dan and I have been saying on Back to Work for a while now, is that and maybe this is a straw man, maybe this is not fair, and you can tell me if it's not, but I do feel like there has been this sense of, well, what is it that Apple's very excited about? What is it that Apple really cares about? And iOS, I think, has got to be near the top. It powers their, most successful device. But then the thought has been, or the implication has been, like, the Mac is going to become more like iOS. And I don't know if that's fair to say, but I feel like I want iOS to become more like iOS. And I want the Mac to become more like the Mac. And if there's places where, coming through the rye, where there's a Venn diagram where that works, that's great. But like, there's so much benefit to those platforms having their own way of doing things, in a similar way to iPad finally getting its own, I'm tapping iPad over here, getting its own operating system to utilize what it's great at, to lay the groundwork for the future. And like I said, this could be a straw man, but I mean, when I open something like the Home app on the Mac, it just makes me very, very sad at a fundamental level.
I know what you mean.
Using HomeKit in general is not super fun a lot of the time. I was just on an episode of a Relay FM podcast called Automators with Rose Orchard and David Sparks talking about this stuff. And it's just there are times where you're like, it's sort of like the Warner Brothers thing again, where you're like, I guess this is a good idea to somebody, but like, is anybody, it's like I used to say, like, watching somebody use a BlackBerry, it's like always like watching someone drain a wound. And like, whenever I'm using one of those Catalyst apps, I really feel like my life is slipping away from me. And they're just having fun to like see what I'll put up with. But with that said, it's a bright future. I think good stuff is going to happen. I really want a MacBook Pro now. These are beautiful.
Yeah. It's funny because when you were looking at the people on the PC forums, they were like, oh, Geekbench is not a realistic benchmark. Ignore that. Oh, now you're using Cinebench. Really? Well, we don't count that either. How about those, you got render scores? No. How about compile? Oh, you got compile scores. Well, we just don't like it.
Yeah. When I had to build the language I use, Racket. I had to build from scratch. It's the new version of it, which is based on a new engine Shea scheme. And, because the reason I wanted it is I was doing the Advent of Code contest, and I had to go sit down at a Dell in order to do that. It was making me bang my head against the wall. As soon as it was on the M1, it's just like, Emacs running native on the M1, and I was really worried. And you remember a couple of weeks ago, I was very upset, feeling like maybe command line was over on Mac OS, and maybe all of these geeky dev tools and things like this were over. And I'm much, much relieved to see that they are working now. And it just takes a little love. And the development version of Emacs runs in native, and it's fantastic. I mean, happy days, It's just great. Mm-hmm. It's just great.
Yeah. We can't let the Mac become just the toy computer that for people who
that was my fear.
Who don't ever want to know what's going on behind the scenes and don't ever want to customize their experience to exactly what their needs are. Which is these are give backs that we deal with when we're using an iPhone or an iPad, and we do that. With precise choice, because that's the sort of device we have. But that will always be for me the difference between a desktop and a mobile device. That there are reasons why, for security, for battery life, for thermal envelope, for all these other reasons why I can't do everything I want to do on this $1,000 iPhone. But when I spend $1,000 for a laptop, when I spend $500 for a laptop, I feel as though whatever I want to do with this pile of compressed sand, I get to do. And anything that's artificial that's a limitation to that. That's just a systematic problem with the developer.
Micah is reminding me that Patrick Wardle tweeted yesterday, my M1 MacBook arrived today. Step 1, install Xcode. Step 2, clone, build Lulu. And just like that, Lulu now runs natively on ARM.
Yep.
That's really encouraging. Lulu, by the way, it was a pick a couple months ago.
Not Lululemon. This is totally
not Lululemon. Although Patrick has a very nice butt. But we're talking about Lulu, which is basically an open source, not open source, but a free version of Little Snitch, which watches outbound traffic and is fantastic. And the fact that he got that within just, right away after getting an M1 is very encouraging. I was kind of concerned that the security measures that Apple had put on in Big Sur, it feels like it's getting more and more locked down.
I do feel for you though, Leo. Like there was this thing that Gruber said that I thought was really smart, where he said the lightness of iOS is what lets macOS stay heavy. And you always see nerds push against that. They're like, we want the iPad to just be a touchscreen Mac. And I'm always like, no, like you have all your computers. You've had them for decades. This is meant for the other 80% who just always feel alienated and not, like they've never been able to relate to a computer. Finally, they have a computer that they can relate to, and you better not take that away. But on the other end, Apple, you have your iPad. Let the iPad stay light. Let the Mac stay heavy. If you're worried about controlled environments, push those customers towards iPads. Make the iPad as amazing as you possibly can for everybody who doesn't want to ever open terminal, but just stay away from my terminal on the Mac. That's our compact, our agreement here.
Isn't that? I can't remember if it was Craig Federighi or I was one of the executives said, and maybe it was to Gruber or maybe it was to somebody else, but we grew up on the Macs. We all are here because of Mac. I'm here. It's Mac Break Weekly. I'm here because of the Mac.
Yeah.
And so it would be heartbreaking for us on the outside to lose it. But apparently, so it would it be for the engineers on the inside. So that's very encouraging. You've always said that.
Well, I haven't really kept up with this too much. But I mean, am I being simple to ask the question, what would you make iOS apps on and with without a Mac?
No. But
isn't that still the case?
That's the least. That's the least of it. They could figure out ways. In fact, many people said the minute Xcode appears on iPad OS, it's all over for the Mac. No, you're right. You still need the Mac to do development.
Right.
But we use it for so much more. Scientists
not going to do what the desktop does.
Scientists use it for massaging numbers and machine learning and statistics. There's so many people who use Macs who want them to continue to be heavy. So thank goodness they still want to make a truck, and apparently they still want to make a self-driving car. Yeah. By the way, Rosemary Orchard.
Syracuse has said something.
Go ahead.
Syracuse has said something. I'm so sorry. Syracuse has said something about we're talking about The Mandalorian, and to me, how it's everything I like about Star Wars without the stuff I don't like about Star Wars, and there's been lots of different Star Wars things that I like to different degrees, but that this is the guy who worked on Clone Wars, which was really terrific and a very fresh take. But Rebels. I think he's not the first person to say this, but Syracuse is saying, well, the thing is, these are the people who grew up on Star Wars that are now making Star Wars, and they have their own taste and their own idea. And, to quote the Mr. Show bit, like, which Star Wars is your Star Wars? Is it Empire, or is it, New Hope? And I wonder what that means, because I've wondered personally about kids who grew up with iPods and iPhones, where it doesn't seem weird to them to not primarily want a Mac. So I wonder if there's a real push and pull inside the company amongst those people. Obviously, everybody likes the Mac. It's why we like the company. But you know what I mean? It's going to be interesting to see whose tastes and interest emerge over time. You're the fan of this platform or that platform. It's just
that's a good point.
And then for somebody who loves it to really make it sing.
But will it ever have a touch screen?
It will. It will when the other kids grow up and they think it's broken because it doesn't.
Right. That's going to be the biggest shift right there.
The first time you tap the top of your Mac to scroll to the top of the page.
I'm looking at my brand new
I do that all the time.
MacBook Pro, and I'm looking at it and saying, why are there fingerprints all over the screen? What's that all about?
So it's fair to say that, you can have a car and you can have a truck, but if you have a truck, it doesn't mean you don't want the amenities of the car. You don't want the leather seats and the cup holder, and Apple's just bringing over all those amenities. It's still a truck, but it's got a nice interior finally.
Yeah. So a couple of go ahead, Andy.
Just to button it up, it's a great analogy because you can use that to prove or disprove pretty much anything you want to suit what point you're trying to make. And so this is why our fear is that instead of the Mac being like the Ford F-250 that is actually like the contractors actually use, this is like the Toyota Brat. Like, okay, technically you took a hatchback, you ripped like the top of the roof rack. It can basically carry 5 bags of groceries before the suspension bottoms out. So we don't want like a pickup truck we don't want a truck in name only. We want like an actual truck. And I don't think that Apple's putting the mobile devices on any kind of trajectory where they can do truck-like things.
Couple of points Rosemary Orchard will be on next week on Mac Break Weekly. Yes.
She's the best.
I know we love her. And I mentioned this briefly, but let me. This is breaking news. Came out. Mark Gurman published this story on Bloomberg half an hour into the show today. Apple is shifting the leadership of its self-driving car division. You may remember Bob Mansfield came back. Was he old COO? Came back.
He replaced Dan Riccio.
Right.
On the car project.
To run the car project. He is now fully retired. And interestingly, the entire car project the code name, what are they? Titan, right?
Titan.
Is under John Giandrea.
Yeah.
John Andrea, who came over from Google as vice president of AI strategy and machine learning. He ran Google's machine learning and search teams before that.
Can I add something real quick there, Leo? He left Google and came to Apple very vocally because he believed in ethical AI. And given all the news this week, I'm hoping he gets a bunch more recruits over the course of this next month.
Google getting a lot of heat over firing Timnit Gebru, who is a woman they hired, a black woman they hired to be an ethics researcher in AI and ethics proponent. And they fired her because they didn't like the paper she wrote, apparently. There's some dispute over what caused the firing. They say, Google said, oh, no, she quit. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of questions about Google's ethics. They're union busting of late. Maybe you understand now why John Andrea went over to Apple. And now he's running the entire, more than 1,000 engineers. No, hundreds of engineers, let's say.
He's going to be as important for the next 10 years of Apple as Johnny Cerrugi's Silicon team was for the last 10 years of Apple. I don't think that's an understatement. And he just keeps expanding. And it's not like Titan is not an automotive thing. It's an automation thing. It's about, and it overlaps with AR because it's about ingesting the world around us, understanding it, and then reacting to it. And we've already seen a bunch of technologies filter out from that. Like Uber just canceled their car famously, and I don't know if Apple will ship what we consider to be a car, but just the amount of cool ideas and functional features that we're getting from Titan every year already is super interesting, and it's going to just get better.
So is it kind of a mistake to label it their self-driving car unit and really just say Titan is their?
It looks good in a headline.
It's clumsy. It's sort of like how DeepMind at Google their brilliant project was the first artificial intelligence that could play the game of Go to beat one of the greatest players in the entire world. But that wasn't the end point. That was just a really good problem to try to solve if you're trying to get to where they were trying to get to with AI. Titan, I think, is the exact same thing. Maybe when it was formed and no company knew exactly how quickly you could get self-driving car technology to move forward before realizing that, no, we can't get self-driving car technology to move forward. But nonetheless, a lot of companies, including Apple, have discovered that it's really, really valuable because if you give engineers practical problems to solve instead of just simply why don't you work on these theoretical AI problems? Yeah, exactly. It's and like Renee was saying, you get AI is going to be the future of pretty much any technology, the backbone of anything that they do. It's the secret sauce, it's the bacon on the sandwich that if you're missing it, you're really not going to be able to compete. But also you're going to have to do machine vision. You're going to have to do the ability to create and build models. All kinds of things that they're going to have to build is really, really well demonstrated by just getting a car to drive 1 mile from one door to another door without killing more than a reasonable number of people along the way.
Well, and to your point, DeepMind was a chess playing machine and a Go playing machine, and now it's solved protein folding. Wow. This is a massive leap in understanding proteins and development of medicines. And this is an example of where AI takes you in interesting directions. So Project Titan.
There was a joke this week where they said, like, you're trying to fix your code with just by throwing a bunch of junk at it is terrible programming, but if you do it fast enough, it's really good ML.
By the way, it must take a lot of humility, just knowing the tiny bit I know about, most companies anyway. Places I've worked, people at the top and the middle get pretty committed to what we're doing, how we're doing it. You got the budgets, all the things. I bet it's, it's sort of like one of those like accidentally discovering penicillin sort of things maybe, but to have the humility to say, well, this project is valuable, not because we're succeeding at the thing we nominally started doing, but that it's taking us in directions that could be valuable to other units. Am I wrong? I mean, it seems like there's all kinds of ways that you'd have to be a really humble and open-minded leader to announce that you're going to do this big shift. Because there's probably people who came to that company to quote unquote make a car,
right?
Not to make.
Do you think it was a shift, or do you think really Tim Cook or whoever said we need this research lab? And it could be whatever it's about. I mean, I know that we're trying to like banging on cars late at night.
Well, I think some of it is public. Like I think a lot of people went there originally as a car project, and they had an alternate agenda of creating the next. Like they were looking at new interface paradigms, new languages, new systems. Like because they. So
when they hired those people, did they say to them, it's about cars, or do they say it's cars plus, or do they say we're going to do some real?
It's cars, but I mean, like because they were in Sunnyvale and not in the mothership, they had a degree of freedom that nobody working on internal frameworks would ever have. And then that didn't work out so well, so it left Risho, went to Mansfield. He famously hired Dan Dodge, who was previously the head of QNX, to basically come to Apple and remake QNX because you need real-time operating systems for some things, and he's been running the software component of that, and they've had various people from the auto industry running the hardware parts. And I think it's exactly like Andy said. It's like this is a problem to solve, but did these other things come out of it?
Yeah, let's not ignore the fact that they did hire away some people who had just monster careers in the auto industry. So the Steve Jobs. Okay,
so it really was a car, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that they must have given them the famous Steve Jobs. Do you want to keep making sugar water for kids the rest of your life, or do you want to change the world? But let's see how many of them got converted into AI engineers as opposed to really my expertise is more on drivetrain. So I don't know if drivetrain technology is part of your M1 chip vision, but if you want to put a drivetrain on your next iPad, boy, could I help you out there.
I'm sure that shuttles now, right? Like that's the easy problem to solve for this is just make a bunch of AI corporate shuttles.
I think, Merlin, to answer your question, sometimes it's easy for us to anthropomorphize corporations and say, oh, wow, that must have been losing face to say we're not going to do cars, but we're going to do something else. I think corporations aren't quite as human as we ascribe. We like to ascribe emotions to them. It's just a rational decision. Yeah, cars was a bad idea, but we got all this great research and information. What about that? Is just right. I don't think it takes humility. I think it just takes attention to the bottom line and a desire to make money. To be honest. And hey, that car thing isn't going to work.
In a more progressive, in a very progressive organization, that would totally make sense. But again, maybe I've just worked for really retrograde companies. But I do feel like there may not be a personality or a character on a company level. That would be crazy to think that, even though we do think that way.
We always do that. Yeah, we like to do
that. Absolutely. Like these, I used to really feel like TiVo was my friend.
Yeah. Apple cares about you.
It's also interesting. But like Google, like the way that Google is just forever, they'll have something now. Think about all the things that used to be, about Google Reader, Google, even down to stuff like all the Google Lab stuff, like Google Sets, things that I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that ever used that. But and then they drop it, they EOL it, not just for financial reasons, I imagine, but they must have gotten something out of that. Amazon Prime in a lot of cities has a thing called Prime Now, where for the last 3-4 years, I guess, you get 2-hour delivery on just a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And at some point during the pandemic, less and less stuff was on there. And you go to Prime Now today, and there's a lot of Whole Foods, and maybe you get a SD card you can buy, but you could get almost anything off of there. So when that happens, I always wondered, what did they learn from this? That they probably took something away from the Prime Now experiment. Anybody got my back on this? It's really changed a lot in the last few months. Has anybody else noticed that?
I thought it was just because
things like that?
I thought delivery timelines slipped tremendously during COVID.
Well, it now seems to be mostly a temporary storefront for Whole Foods. But then when you go there and you go to Prime Now, you get an interstitial saying, "Why don't you go to the Amazon app to do some of this stuff?" So yeah, I imagine there's always things to be gleaned, but I don't know. I'm just always impressed whenever anybody's willing to say.
Time Warner was chastened by the failure of acquiring AOL so much that it so shamed them that they said we shouldn't really buy Warner Media. That's last time we did this. No, they don't care. I don't think they're chastened. I think if you're a Japanese company, there's this concept of losing face. But I think American companies, it's just
glad Disney didn't buy it because they owned 90% of my childhood instead of just 85.
Yeah.
Yeah. As it is, I think I'm going to wait another 10 years for the 4K digital restoration and release of The Abyss and Aliens and all the other Fox movies.
Hey, I got really good news. I took a chance last month. They had a $30 deal on the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, but they were 1080p. And I thought, I know they're coming out in December with the 4K. So there's two possibilities. One, they're clearing them out, and then I'll have to buy a 4K because I've already bought these stupid movies. They're not even that good, but for some reason I just keep buying them in all different formats.
It's like Star Wars.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's me and Edgar Wright movies. I think I can't stop buying Edgar Wright movies.
To me, the Lord of the Rings
Weezer's Blue Album. Things I just keep buying.
Yeah, you keep buying it. Yeah. I have every Beatles album in 18 different copies. But I just figured that the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, maybe not good movies, but they're like the Wizard of Oz. You wouldn't probably say, in hindsight, what a great movie The Wizard of Oz was, but it was important culturally. Anyway, I took a chance. I thought there is a possibility that Apple will do what they've done in the past, which is just upgrade me to 4K, and I'm very happy to say they did.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
I was watching it this weekend. It is so beautiful.
It's really interesting
HDR.
to watch on a 4K HDR screen because it's much more realistic, and they really play up the specular highlights. I think Lord of the Rings was probably shot on film, right?
It was shot in 4K, I think he said.
Was it? Oh, okay. I'm sure The Hobbit was. That came later.
Once you do 4K, it's such a snooty white guy thing to say, but once you get into the 4K UHD, especially played from media, even with local files on my Plex, it's still not quite the same as plastic.
If you have a UHD disc. Yeah.
Once you get into 4K UHD, it's really hard. The floor keeps changing.
Especially HDR.
For a long time, it was the HDR. I was watching Mank, the new Fincher movie, which of course.
I can't wait to see that. Is it good?
Well, it just I really liked it a lot, but that made me go back and watch Mindhunter again.
Oh,
and it's so extraordinary the contrast that you get out of that. And it sounds dumb. My family doesn't care. They can't tell 720 from 4K. They don't care. They're looking at their phones anyway. But I really, really, really notice. And in a dark room, it's transformative to me in the way that 1080 was a decade ago. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
In any event.
That's good. So,
Thank you,
so
Apple.
you got upgraded on the store? Is that what happened? You bought the
I bought them, and now my copies are 4K. And you're right. They look, awesome. It's really, at first you go, I think I could see the spirit gum holding Gandalf's beard on. But then you learn to sit back and not look so close.
Don't watch the Twilight Zone.
No, don't watch the prequels. If you watch the Star Wars prequels, they look like PlayStation 2 graphics now.
You can really, even on these, and these are later, you can tell, that's CGI. They're walking over that bridge, but it's pretty obvious the distinction between
the practical effects hold up though. That's
practical looks good.
The original Star Wars looks fantastic.
Yeah, the practical looks good.
When you see stuff where you're this was never supposed to look. You were never supposed to be able to see this much detail on a fake TV or a bookshelf, and the bookshelf could just all be curse words on the spines because it was never meant to be seen. And now you're like, oh my god, everything is so much spirit gum,
so much.
But the really wonderful thing is when you get to see TV specials, animated TV specials that are now being remastered from the original 35 millimeter prints and struck in Blu-ray or 4K, because now whenever I watch those Peanuts specials, they don't. I grew up seeing them on antenna TV with all kinds of herringbone and stuff, and they looked fine. But now every single still frame, it looks like not just a frame of animation. It looks like a photograph of a cell.
You can tell
on top of another cell
what it
with
is.
Shadows next to them on top of a background. You can see edits that they made in the background.
Yeah, artifacts and lines that are blurry and I know exactly what you mean.
I was watching the I think it was the Halloween special, and for the first time I noticed that Is there Scotch tape in the background of those things? Did they? And was that like? Is that like one of those like avant-garde like 1960s animation things, or did they really just think that look, we're on a deadline, nobody's going to see this when by the time it gets to their Magnavox Zenith Philco in their living room, right? And yeah, but it's the
and they're also edited. Remember, Andy, they were edited within an inch of their life over the years, like almost as bad as like Warner Brothers cartoons.
They had to make room for more room for these.
More Hostess Snowball.
Take out the smoking or
Dolly Madison.
Dolly Madison, yeah.
Yep. Not only that though, there's to get the rat hole music ready, but not only that, but there's a really wonderful like side by side video of like the Charlie Brown Christmas was such a rush job, and they got in by the skin of their teeth, and when it came a success, they got the money to fix problems that were always there, or like do changes, things like at the end where the entire Peanuts gang is like greeting Charlie Brown next to the Christmas tree, and the entire gang says "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown," and then at some point later on they realize that Snoopy is not a talking dog. Snoopy's mouth should not be saying "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown," and so they reanimated that part of it to make sure that he's just like smiling nicely. And there's all kinds of things like that. But yeah, I love that's such a great point. That's so, especially with movies where nobody was, even like the prints that they were going to be making and sending to theaters, nobody was intending people to have this kind of resolution or the ability to stop at any one given frame and be able to examine things this way. And like 1960 movies with matte paint. I saw a Disney movie that I just ripped last night, and the matte paintings are so obvious. Like there's like a halo around. This is where the live action is. This is where the person's gonna. This is where the lady walking the dog is gonna find an excuse to stop and pet the dog, because in 2 more steps she's gonna leave like the live area of the matte painting. And I always wonder how these filmmakers feel about like, you know what? Could we just like downmaster this? Just like there are these filters when they went
blur it like or put it in a rainstorm like they do with sometimes when you don't have a big CGI budget. You could like put it in a snowstorm or a rainstorm. Citizen Kane, I think the mats still look really good. I got a real crisp version of that, but the openings with like the castle up on the hill, they're just extraordinary looking.
See, it's going to be this is a whole new thing, is to rewatch everything in super high res 4K and I think to some degree what I ended up doing with The Lord of the Rings was just kind of defocusing and backing up a little bit, and just because all those movies, with 24 frames a second, it's going to give a dreamlike kind of smoothness and lyrical feeling to it. And so, Citizen Kane is 24 frames. So you make it more crisp, you make it 60 or 120 frames. Yeah, you're going to lose all that lyrical beauty. They would. But you can defocus your eyes, is what I'm saying. Yeah, just cross them.
But it goes to so many other things. Those of us who are now buying the comics that we bought in the 1980s that were on cheap, terrible newsprint with like cheap, really terrible cheap printing. Now we get to do them, see them on Comixology, where they're taking the original stats of the original the original line art and digitally recoloring them, and you can zoom in like far beyond what you can see on the original. Because I have some original art pages, but this is like far beyond that. And I'm reading some of my favorite comics again, and then saying, wait a minute, is there 3 arms on that character? They put 3. How did I not notice there are 3 arms on that character? And the characters are supposed to have 2 arms, by the way. So yeah,
because it was all smudgy and dark after like a month. Like after a month, it was all just like a blur.
Andy gets the no prize.
I want to watch Sinbad again and see. Adobe Lightroom is out now for M1, by the way. As of today, you can upgrade. I shall be going home and doing that. Actually, I sent a snotty note to Adobe because I wasn't able to install it. It said, "I'm sorry, you can't install on a mixed case Apple APFS format. You have to have." Yeah, it was like, dudes, you can't. You're telling me that case sensitive, you can't. It doesn't work. Apparently not. So I sent him a note saying thanks. But my subscription was a year-long subscription, so I'll get to try it. You know what? If Lightroom really runs beautifully on an M1, they may save me after all. But geez, I couldn't upgrade Photoshop because I had foolishly formatted my hard drive case sensitive, and it suddenly wouldn't work. Yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah.
case sensitive.
You know how you can format?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't even know. I feel like I would bollocks that up really bad. I've formatted a lot of stuff lately. I'm trying to. So that means
one would assume that you would want case sensitive, so that you could have lowercase and uppercase, and there'd be two different file names. But apparently, the Adobe assumes that something with the file name doesn't matter what the case is; it's the same file, and that was the error message I got. It said no, can't install on it. Maybe there's a workworkaround. I don't know. I don't want to.
Have any of y'all tried the Affinity things like Affinity Designer? Have you tried that?
No, Affinity. That's the thing. That was what was part of the snotty note I sent to Adobe is thanks to Affinity and Serif and plenty of other wonderful companies doing amazing stuff. I don't really need you anymore.
I wasn't. I mean, what do I subscribe to? I think I subscribe to Lightroom, which I barely open. It's kind of, I don't say wasted money, but like on the iPad, I really like Pixelmator Photo, I think it's called. The one that's got the machine learning stuff. That's a mind-boggling application that I run all my good photos through. But I realize I love Acorn, and that's kind of my Photoshop.
Acorn's fun. I know. I love it.
But I realized I needed to do something for work, and I realized I don't even remember the last time that I even owned a vector program. And I asked a bunch of people online.
It said Affinity.
Almost every single person said Affinity Designer. Yeah. And I opened it up and I was like, this is bananas. Like it's just wild to me that like I don't want to be mean, but Adobe in some ways kind of feels like it's become a little bit like Microsoft, where they really want you to buy like the big ball of all the things and subscribe, Adobe 365 for the enterprise or whatever. But like, and these are just so they work on all the different platforms. They're just happy, easy to use. I guess what I'm saying is I'm so glad there's people out there still hustling. I'm so grateful for the Panics. I'm grateful for the Affinities. Obviously, Rogue Amoeba. Yep. Rules everything around.
Pixelmator's amazing. I mean, and these companies.
Have you used the one on iPad though, with the machine learning enhancements and stuff like that? Good.
You don't like it?
Crazy.
Oh, you do like it? Yeah.
No, for photos. That's great.
Pixelmator
for
Photo. Right? I wish they would release it for the Mac. I don't know why they haven't. I love Pixelmator Photo. I could do stuff. It's like, what? I'm deleting a fence in the middle of my photo.
It is crazy. Yeah. A lot of my best lizard photos go through that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Your lizard photos too?
Sensitive. Yeah.
Case sensitive lizard.
Case sensitive drives not supported. Their solution: install the product onto an HFS Plus or a non-case sensitive drive. Thank you, Adobe. Screw you.
I saw a great comment from Thomas Frank on this where he said, like, since they moved to subscription, they're incentivized to continually add more apps. So to make the bundle more valuable instead of fixing the apps to increase the value of the subscription. Yeah. And their new icons are indecipherable to me. I can't tell which blue icon is which app anymore.
There's a guy on GitHub who has a fix, but his name is Nacho Libre. So I'm not sure.
Not even one of the better Jack Black movies.
I'm not sure if I should try this. Actually, it makes sense. You just make a little sparse bundle volume and you can put it on there. Oh, boy, there's so many stories and we're running out of time here. Because I want Merlin to come back. I don't want him to think this is one of those shows that just goes on and on and on forever.
Oh, no. I got nowhere to be.
Real quickly.
Picture of my lizard. You can see my beautiful boy.
I want to see lizards.
Through that app.
What kind of lizards do you have?
He's a bearded dragon. He's a very sweet, precious angel.
What is it? Is it the kids that made you?
Send you his Twitter account.
Same kids that made you do that, or?
Oh, to quote Seinfeld, they only wake me for the important meetings. I don't really have a role. I find out about things sometimes on the ride home or something. That's how we got a cat. That's how we got the lizard. Though I have to say, I was pretty into.
What's his
bearded dragon?
What's his Twitter handle?
Bando Mando. Bando
Mando.
Mando.
Okay. Oh, two N's. Two N's in the Mando.
There he is.
Commando.
It's a great pet. It's a very manageable pet. And
these are beautiful. These are beautiful.
Mostly through Pixelmator.
Look at that. App. He's glows.
He's mating right now. He's very sleepy.
He's glowing.
Yeah.
Is he golden?
He's very special.
Do you take him on walks? Do you have a leash?
I don't want to talk about it.
I see him out in the world.
That's my lady friend likes to take him to the park. And he's like,
it's a good way to meet. Good way to meet women. Sure.
Hello, ladies. Want to pet my lizard? Sir, you should leave. Please be extremely socially distanced from me. Take your lizard and leave, sir.
Bando Mando.
Is he a precious angel?
He's a precious, precious angel. Yeah. He really gets around, too. Are you putting him in the food saver? Are you sous videing him?
Oh, yeah. Actually, he finds baths very relaxing.
He likes those warm baths. What temperature
It makes him poop.
What temperature should I set the sous vide for?
For what? Tell me,
for a
I
lizard.
track this.
For a lizard. Not to eat him, not to cook him, just to keep him comfy.
I would say 133 if you want a medium rare.
That's rare. That's a medium rare lizard.
Hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Put in some time.
Yeah. Big security flaw discovered on the iPhone, fortunately patched by Apple back in May, so we can talk about it now, but it was discovered by Google's Project Zero.
Is this the DOS thing with all the phones getting shut off?
Yep.
Wi-Fi packets of death. Dan Gooden in Ars Technica called it one of the most breathtaking hacks ever because you could do it to anybody without getting their phone, without getting them to do anything. It could be through a wall as long as you're within Wi-Fi access of an iPhone. But that's not the worst part. That's not the word. It was a buffer overflow bug in a driver for the Apple Mesh Networking Protocol, the thing that makes AirDrop work, AWDL. It's, of course, in Ring 0. It's a kernel-level driver. And it parses those packets in Ring 0. So the exploit was transmitted over the air. But worse, it was wormable because of AirDrop. So once you get it on somebody's iPhone, let's say you want to invade the Israeli embassy. You get it on some low-level clerk's iPhone while he's out getting a cup of coffee. He goes back in the embassy, and it then exploits every single phone in the embassy without you doing anything.
Yeah. And Merlin, wasn't that the most incredible, the most bone-chilling demonstration? We're usually postscript all these explanations with, oh yeah, but the guy would have to have physical proximity, physical access to your phone to be able to plug something in. It's like, no, the demo is here is a pile of phones, a pile of like a dozen and a half phones that are like launched and running and have the launch screen on, and then this little apparatus on a piece of foam core, push one button, and suddenly each one of them starts to blink, 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 blink.
Whenever we see phones arrayed like that, it's usually to demonstrate over time how it's faster and faster to turn them on. For example, like you'll see those YouTubers, those amazing kind of like ambidextrous YouTubers that are showing you before and afters and things. Whenever you see that, you're like, ooh, I wonder which one turns on the fastest. And this is the opposite of that. This is like this little PC over here just shoots a signal over here, and then we see how fast they can all go off.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
The good news is Apple fixed this in iOS 13.5. That's the one where the COVID-19 tracing API was installed. I presume all of you have updated. I learned with dismay that Georgia Dow is not updating her iPhone. Just update your iPhone. If you're on iOS 14.
She updated to this. She just doesn't update apps.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to update your apps. But if you're on iOS 14, you're okay. If you're on 13.5 or later, you're okay.
The emoji updates come out, Leo. Everybody updates for the emoji update.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm. So we know you've got iOS 14. You're good.
Otherwise, you have all those little box question mark things, and it's just untenable.
The good, so here's the deal. The good thing is completely patched. The bad thing is this is as bad as an attack can be.
Yes. Yeah.
And as much as we would like to say, oh, our iPhones are secure, we're just lucky that this was discovered by Project Zero. I hope it was discovered by Project Zero before it was discovered by somebody else. I wouldn't be surprised if. Yeah.
This is one of those things where it's really best to have two asterisks on that statement, a lot like quote unquote testing negative for COVID.
Right.
I think what you say is the iPhone is secure as far as I know for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bruce Schneier kind of thing. Like, just don't act like it's the White House was doing this. God love them. Where they would just be like, they acted like testing before you meet the president was like a policy for dealing with this. And it's like, well, no, it's like using your backup camera on your car to find out if you're going to get hit next week. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like, we need to know, you're going to find out later. Then now you got Rudy Giuliani out there.
Don't take off the bumper because you have a camera for next week.
But this is also a demonstration of how important it is to have organizations like Project Zero and also ample, generous bug bounties, because the value of this exploit,
somebody will buy it,
would have been just this is like this is exactly like one of those hacker movies where one of their friends just suddenly disappears off the face of the earth and they think they've been killed, but no, it's just that some organized crime or some foreign government has given them like $800 million plus a brand new identity in exchange for his hack against all encryption known to mankind. This would have been the sort of thing where This is the sort of thing where the government suddenly says, you know what, we're not going to let you publish this paper. We're actually going to make this a classified document that only our people get access to, because this is way, way too valuable for us to let anybody else have it. And it's also way, way too valuable for you to do anything. It's also too valuable for you to do anything naughty, like tell Apple about it so that they can close this hole that we absolutely want to be able to exploit without warrants.
Let's get our final break in, and then your picks of the week. My friends, this has been so much fun. Merlin, I love seeing you again. So great. I'll give you a list of his podcasts.
Like being with my ex. It's very heartwarming.
I never got to podcast much with Merlin, so I'm making up for lost time.
Yeah, you came. Yeah. I think both you guys are the post Merlin era.
Yeah, you guys made the show.
No. I was at the tail end of the Merlin era. I remember because I remember the producer used to like get us both in on the call before, like you still had like another 10 or 15 minutes to go, and so
you got
Merlin
chat.
and I would just like have a side talk.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, but like it was like having two Robin Williamses.
Just what the world needs,
it
right?
Sounds good, but like you don't want that on a plane and you're in the middle seat. Not the whole time.
A couple of shows on Dan Benjamin's 5x5 network at 5x5.tv. Back to work. You do that with Dan. You've been doing that since 2011. That's awesome. And reconcilable different. How do you say that over and over again?
I think that's a show your listeners might like, because everybody likes John Syracuse. He has a whole army of flying monkeys.
Yeah.
Reconcilable differences on relay.fm.
See, even you can't say it. And Tom Brokaw would have so much trouble with it. Reconcilable differences.
Now I sound like Hank Hill. Oh.
I love these. I love these people. There should be a word for it. These people whose names are perfect for doing like the impression of them, like Tom Brokaw.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm Tom Brokaw in New York.
Our show today brought to you by the fabulous NetSuite from Oracle. If you are one of those people who is struggling, and anybody who's running a business probably is one of those people who's struggling. We had to get Lisa a giant, I think it was a 59-inch screen, so that she could look at all the different documents and things she had to look at all at once, so that she could get the job done. If you're struggling with combining all of the different inputs you need into one place so you can decide what to do with your business, then you've got to take a look at NetSuite by Oracle. And NetSuite is a wonderful solution for people who have to, deal with, God, I mean, it's just endless. I watched Lisa doing this. You got your financial reports, you've got your HR, you've got your inventory, your e-commerce, and you're trying to figure it all out. You may not realize it, but QuickBooks, spreadsheets, that big wide screen, that's slowing you down. If you're tired of working on multiple platforms, you want to take your business to the next level, now's the time to upgrade to NetSuite. It's enough difficulty these days, especially running a small or medium-sized business that's growing fast. You need a solution that's evolving with you. NetSuite's the #1 cloud business system. It gives you cloud-based solutions. It streamlines mission-critical business processes. It reduces IT costs. It allows you to easily scale and future-proof your business with an agile business platform that evolves as your needs change. You can close with confidence accelerate your financial close, maintain compliance with accounting standards. You can report with accuracy. Financial accuracy is, well, it's the whole game. Drill down into the underlying details, understand what's impacting your business, get real-time information, which will really improve your ability to make decisions. Real-time metrics, role-based dashboards, so you're never in the dark about how your business is going. I'll give you an example. There's plenty on the website, netsuite.com/twit, but take a look at Commvault. They turned to NetSuite's cloud solution as a platform that could dramatically reduce complexity and provide much-needed agility. They use the Suite Cloud development platform, and it's let them support their unique processes and integrate with third-party cloud applications. Apps from NetSuite partners round out the company's updated environment. SolarWinds uses NetSuite. They said, we needed more than just a good accounting solution. We had to responsibly manage growth. And NetSuite provided the business application infrastructure to do exactly that. Stop paying for multiple systems. Get NetSuite. That's what 22,000 companies now have done. They're already using NetSuite. Why aren't you? You can find out more. Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour. Go to NetSuite, NetSuite, netsuite.com/twit. You want to grow, right? You want to make it easy? Do it with NetSuite. netsuite.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting Mac Break Weekly. I thank you for supporting Mac Break Weekly by using that special address. That kind of sends them the signal that you saw it here. netsuite.com/twit. I'll let you start, Merlin. You haven't done a pick of the week in a long time.
Takes us back to the old days. I want to recommend an app for, depending on what version you get, long story short, for the Mac and iOS, called Solver, Soulver. That's solver.app.
From Aqualia or Aqualia.
Aqualia, if you say so.
Yeah.
And it's sorry, real quick. My wife is texting me. And so like, I love spreadsheets, and spreadsheets are great. And I really like spreadsheets. It's kind of my spirit animal. I love doing things with spreadsheets. But there are some instances where, it feels a little heavy to have to begin in this cell with equals that cell. Solver is, what do they call it? A playground for math or a playground for numbers.
This is what I use spreadsheets for, but I wouldn't have to with this.
It's a very lightweight method for, let's start at the most basic. You just say 2 plus 2, and then over on the right side, it tells you that's 4, but you can also have variables. You could do transformations, and that's really where it comes in handy for me. So I don't remember how to transform things, and so not currency so much, because I don't have to worry about that. But for example, date math. I want to know how many hours between this day and that day. Yeah. I want to know, what's another one recently? Oh yeah, how many megabits per? I want to see. Show me 550 megabits per second, and then the keyword as kilobit.
She wants to talk to you now.
Desperately trying to get through to me. That might ring again. Another reason to love AT&T, if you buy their cool spam blocking service, it only works with it if it's on your wrist. If it's not on your wrist, it uses your regular old number, and then people just bug you. That's a nice thing. So anyway, but it's so fun to play with, and on the one hand, it's great because you can just jump right in and start using this, and it'll be very handy to you. But anything where you think of needing a combination of sort of a calculator, a lightweight calculator, combined with something like a converter of some kind. Oh, and Solver 3, which is for Mac only, now has subtotals, which is amazing. So you basically get like your own tape. Go check it out. Solver. It's great. I love it. Anybody here
I've used this on iOS, for a long time. I didn't realize they even had a Mac app. It's $30, one time only, but you can try it for a week or two free and see if you like it. Soulver. And you informed me before the show. I thought, because it's like solving things, it was a solution tool. It was SOLU. So I've been calling it Solver all this time. It's Solver, SOUL, like it has some soul.
This is the problem with the internet. The problem with one of the problems with the internet, let's be honest, is that I could be very well acquainted with someone. I would consider them a dear friend, and maybe I don't know how to pronounce their name, even though I've known them for 10 years. Yeah. There was a time when you'd never hear a word out loud, and you'd just be like, I
don't know how you pronounce that.
That's how you say that.
Can you do that like Hank Hill now?
Oh. It's like books too.
Sorry, Renee.
So that's like books too. When I read books as a kid, I never knew how the characters were pronounced, and then you see the movie and you're like, really?
You never learn.
Oh yeah.
I'm reading Barack Obama's biography right now, and he says,
"Oh yeah,
he says,
Barack Obama.
Yeah, remember him, Barack Obama?
Yeah.
He says that's
but well, actually, it's Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah,
a lot of people leave out the
Hussein. I miss your Jerry Lewis. It's been a long time.
I think I'm going to start specializing in the unnecessary, unrequested, one-syllable impression of a celebrity.
It's very good.
Oh, you want to see my brother-in-law? I do a really good impression of my brother-in-law.
Yeah, please. That's a visual impression for those.
Yeah, it's a visual impression. Yeah. Sorry.
You can imagine. No, but Obama said that because he was book learned, he didn't know how to pronounce anything. And he never bothered looking up the pronunciation. I think that's not an uncommon thing. Renee, what's your pick of the week this week?
So I have two, and they're not by no means are they new picks, but I think like they've been newly reinvented with M1 Max because they are just so fast. And the first one is Apple's Final Cut Pro. We've talked about it a lot. It's $300, but they've done, I can't even tell now, 10 years of updates or something for free. So once you buy it, it's basically a one-time purchase, and then they just keep making it better. But it is so fast on the M1 Max. And of course it is, because Apple's controlling the silicon all the way through up the bits, through the pixels, just everything. But when you hit that render button, that export button, when you bounce that sucker, it is just every atom in that machine firing through the most optimized pipelines imaginable to get you time to work completion done. If you don't want to spend money on Final Cut Pro, though, DaVinci Resolve has also done a yeoman's job at getting their software moved over and moving over to M1. And the basic version is absolutely free. I use Final Cut because Resolve just doesn't fit my brain model of how things should work, but a lot of people love it. They use it for everything. The color grading is unbelievable in DaVinci Resolve. They have a nodal editor, and it's just Blackmagic owns it, and they make it available. And it's some of the biggest YouTube videos, never mind movies and things, are all done through like cinematic pipelines on DaVinci Resolve. And you can get that and use it and learn it for free. And it feels like we're on the verge of just this massive acceleration of things that used to be bottlenecks. Like you would edit your movie and that was real time, but you'd hit that button and go get not just a coffee, but a coffee shop while you were waiting for it to edit. And now these things are coming out so quickly, especially because they're purpose built. And again, it's just the beginning of all the optimizations for this stuff. So if you've ever had a hankering to move beyond iMovie, you've got some really, really, really good world-class options available.
I have to say that's one pitfall of having an M1 is you don't want to use non-native apps anymore, even with Rosetta.
No.
You just want to, is it native? And if it's not, I'll wait. It's, yeah.
Premiere is struggling, and Premiere is struggling. A lot of people don't want to use Premiere, but they want to use After Effects. And the best way to use After Effects is with Premiere. And so they're sort of bound to it, like the dark language and Ring of Mordor.
Motion's native, though, right?
Yeah, Motion, all the Apple stuff was updated for launch, and it's just terrific.
Yeah, it's really nice. Pick of the week, Andy Anatko.
Mine is an oldie but a goodie. Congratulations to Fantastical by Flexibits, who won one of the App of the Year awards because they totally redid the entire app and released it in January of this year, and they've been going bulldozer with it ever since. From the very, very earliest days of Fantastical, it delivered something so wonderful that you were just it was just sort of begging to be bought by Apple and just say, tell you what you guys, you men and women, you are now just in charge of all the calendar stuff that we do on Mac OS and iOS, because I've never had a calendar app that I wanted to use before, just by dropping down a menu and saying lunch with D'Artagnan next Tuesday at 3 p.m.
I love that feature.
Well, way before Shlomo, way before the assistant, and even today it works better than most of those sort of things. The way that it lets you just simply look at what's going on in your day, they've made it more a little bit more muscular, so it still works great as a personal app, and there's still like sort of a personal version of it that's free now for I think it's an annual subscription fee. They've made it into a much more powerful thing, a bigger monster that works even better now that we are spending more time in front of this one screen, managing so many different people, managing so many different meetings, so many different Zoom calls and chats and stuff like that. it's frequent that you have an app that's so good that it gets a lot of attention when it first gets released, and it gets the App of the Year award. But for an app like this to, in its third iteration, say, no, this is enough of a change, and it's so much of a rethinking of what makes it great, and just adding turbojets to everything that makes it great, that, yes, guess what? Here's another one. Congratulations for 2020. Yeah. That says something really about the team at FlexiBits and how good they are at keeping their eye on the ball there. Well deserved.
I use that and love it, and then pay for it, pay a subscription. And I think it's native too, as I remember.
I don't think Michael and Kent are ever selling to Apple, which is good. Great.
Yeah. And it works with the Apple Calendar. I mean, I agree with you, Andy. I wish it would just supplant it, but it doesn't supplant it.
There's a database. Like, I think all the iOS and macOS apps work off a collected contact and calendar database, which is great because you can have as many or as few apps as you want, and they're just always working together, which I think is way better than a bunch of different data cylinders.
Yeah. And
I also like that you could do stuff like, say, even though we're not moving around much, you can also have by time or location, say like, okay, when I'm at my office, show these calendars. When I'm at home, show these calendars, etc.
Right. I love that feature. I never go anywhere, so I don't use it.
It's really clever.
But if I went anywhere,
like, remind me about a Zoom call.
But you could, Leo.
If you drop in a URL, we drop in a URL for a Zoom call.
You can
like click to join. Yeah, it's really clever.
That. Yeah, no, it's totally what I use on iOS and on macOS. And congratulations,
it's like Merlin's point before. It's by people who love that software, use that software all the time, and use it a lot, and they made the app that they wanted. Yeah,
I got a weird little pick because I had a weird device the other day that actually I love, but it's not for everybody. The good news, it costs less than AirPods Max. But the bad news is it's still very expensive. It's called the Remarkable 2. It's a paper tablet that you write on, but at $400, I'm not recommending it for anybody. I love it, but it supports only one, PDF or EPUB are the two book formats. So I was looking around for EPUBs, and I found, and this is the pick, not the Remarkable, standardebooks.org, free and liberated ebooks carefully produced for the true book lover. They've taken Project Gutenberg. You know, Project Gutenberg has all these books hand transcribed, but what they've done is they've taken the transcriptions, they've corrected it, and they've made beautiful additions. And of course, they're all older because they have to be, not open source, public
this
domain.
Is like free as in beer.
Yeah,
that's so cool,
and they're beautifully produced.
Idea.
This is a book I grew up with.
Project Gutenberg's amazing, but it's not very pretty.
Yeah, it's just plain
I end up opening
text.
Stuff in Calibre and trying to clean it up with Calibre. You get some formatting options, but this is amazing.
Yeah. So I'll show you. This is a book I grew up with called Five Children and It. I don't know if this is going to render well on. I can't. Yeah, it's not doing it on the website very well, but really they've done a nice job, I think, of. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I mean, the typography was well done. And then they have illustrations and stuff. So I just think if you're looking for free books to put on your reader, there's they're wonderful books. Just because they're old doesn't mean they're not great books.
And they're ragged right. They're not justified.
I know. I was almost going to say that.
Me.
I know. I hate it when they do
I buy
that.
Something from my Kindle and you can't turn off full justification.
So annoying.
What monster would make that the deforlt for a book and not hand kerned. Not hand justified.
No.
But like machine. You got rivers and forget it.
Yeah, it's just awful. This is just left justified, and it's not. It looks, and it's all beautiful. So if you're looking for some classics, they have quite a few books in here, and they're looking for volunteers who will take the Project Gutenberg version of it, correct it, and make a nice production. Here's The Man in the Brown Suit by Agatha Christie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, some great stuff. So. Just to mention, I wanted to give them a plug, standardebooks.org. Hey, we have had fun.
Yay.
Merlin, would you come back from time to time or every week if you want? I got an empty seat.
No. You don't want that. I think a couple times a year is enough cilantro.
I love cilantro. Really nice I want to make a cilantro pesto out of this show.
Of it every morning.
I might. I've been known. I could. I do love it.
Yeah.
And you can bring Bando by anytime. We appreciate that, too.
Oh, I might bring him on. That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it's nice to see everybody
So
again.
nice to
Thank
see
you. And everybody out there, hi. Thank you.
Merlinman.com, and you can get all the podcasts and everything he's up to. Do you work on staff, or are you a freelancer?
At what?
Do you have? Are you gainfully employed?
Are you employed, sir? What day is this? No. I got a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have you. No, I just do podcasts. And I fell ass backward into it. I got so lucky, especially now. I mean, my God.
So you are a slacker, sir.
He's one of us.
I'm on a one big slacker. Slackety slack.
He's an indie.
Yeah, no one else, nobody can tolerate me, and not even me.
We can tolerate you. We love you. Thank you for being here.
It. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful holiday. Thank you, Andy Yanaka. When are you going to be on GBH next?
I'm on a day early. I'm on tomorrow at 1:20 p.m. until like 1:45 p.m. Go to wgbhnews.org to stream it live, or about 3 hours later to stream it later.
Very nice. They're saying, bring back You Look Nice Today, Merlin.
We did.
I thought you did. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you still doing it, or?
Yes, we are. It's mostly video. You could listen to it as audio, but the video's more fun. You go to
Lonely
You Look
Sandwich.
Nice Today, or or CaliforniaKing.org is technically the name of the
Simpson.
new kind of offshoot. Yeah, go to the other one. Up in the top, go to
California King. So you have many shows.
Yeah. I'm just talking.
Yeah.
Adam is too pretty.
It's nice to be with those boys again. I miss doing that show.
Yeah, I love that show. One of the funniest shows ever. And, of course, Renee Ritchie, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. And we had Georgia Dow on Twit on Sunday. And
that was a good show.
Apple Talk, your podcast you do with her, is also on YouTube. Yeah, it was fun to have Georgia on.
She is so much smarter than just every episode. I learned so many things about, like, I understand what in technology, but she explains why, and it makes such a critical difference to my understanding of everything.
I hope it's not inappropriate, but I said you brought the brains, she brought the heart.
She brought both.
She's also a little bit like Simone from
I love Simone de Rochefort as well. Yeah,
like where it's like, Georgia and just they're the cure. Like their laugh just makes me so happy.
That's a good way to put it.
So freaking smart
Yep.
and fun, and like just whatever they're on,
and
they're
human.
one of those like Harry Dean Stanton kind of people where like Ebert said, Andy, where like it can't be all or Emmett Walsh, like if they're in this movie, it can't be all bad. Like whatever they're on always brings me so much joy.
YouTube.com. You don't have a name yet. That's gonna
/Apple Talk Show.
Oh, you got it. Good. /Apple Talk Show. Yep, you got 1.77K subscribers. So you can now.
We're young, but we're feisty.
You can now name your show. Everybody should subscribe to that and Renee's show. Thank you all for being here. I hope you'll subscribe to us too. You can watch us do the show every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. Easiest thing to do is just go to twit.tv/live. That's where the live audio and video feeds are. If you're doing that, chat with us too. irc.twit.tv is the chat room. After the fact, shows are available at the website twit.tv/mbw. There's a YouTube channel for Mac Break Weekly. You could listen and subscribe there. Best thing to do, though, get one of your favorite podcatchers, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Google or Apple's podcast app, Stitcher, Slacker, the whole. It sounds like the reindeer, frankly. Donner, Blitzen, all of them. Just subscribe.
Salesforce is buying them all.
Yeah, that's right.
Stitcher and Slacker.
Yeah, we need a song. Yeah. Subscribe, and that way you'll get it automatically the minute it's available. Now it is my sad duty to tell you to get back to work, except for Merlin. You don't have to, because break time is over. Bye-bye, everybody.
You still got it, kid.
Still got it. Even with all the poinsettias.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, host at Twit TV. Got a question for you. Have you gotten tired of how bad your photos are looking every time you post them to Instagram? Better yet, have you gotten yourself a new camera and you can't quite figure out why the images just don't look that good? Well, I have a solution for you. It's my show, Hands On Photography. Each and every Thursday, I sit down and share different tips and tricks that are going to help make you a better photographer and a better post processor. So subscribe today at twit.tv/hop to learn more.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I was looking for the rat hole music, and I think it is somewhere. It is
Andy and I
somewhere.
can sing it.
I think.
Oh, this is the short one. I want the long one.
Are you preempting rat holes, Leo?
There's a really
Preemptive
long
rat
rat.
hole?
Oh, he could play it again. He could play it.
Might be an F major.
Then there's a long one that goes on.
Who's opening the rat hole? You know he's opening the rat hole. All right.
That's it. We got that. We got that. We got it. We got it. Okay. Huh? That's exactly how it went.
Can we use the theme
That's
song
funny,
from
that's-
Rat Patrol?
Let's just if you got that, take it, put it in a button, and we got it. Okay.
Okay.
Put a button on it.
Put a button in it. Put it on a button.